Hello, everybody. Welcome. I have to squint to see. It is August 6th. Yeah, there we go. People are still tuning in. I knew it was. I'm very on time today, but usually we spend a little bit of time chatting for people to come in. 2022. Hello, welcome. I'm so pleased for everyone to be here. And this recording is about level 1, lesson 16 continued. Aurora, like what's going on? I thought we're on lesson 17. So here's where I'm going with the numbering. And I also said to everyone in behind the scenes just now, like, this will not be a marathon event today, but I'm preparing for next week, next Saturday morning, when I will be doing what is definitely not only a marathon, but a mega marathon. That is going to be the mini course or standalone course of, let me just mute everyone, not because I don't love you, but it helps with the sound quality on the recording. There we go. Standalone course that's called Galactic History, the origins of AI and technology itself, and self-protection from negative thought entities. I have some like dog hair, something like that in my eye, so I made a funny face. That is very powerful stuff. It's the dreaded or the much vaunted or the much talked about lesson 18. And that lesson 18 is both level 1 and level 2. So I could have done it like first 1 week we'll do level 1, then the next week we'll do level 2. I think that's just all way too confusing. So what the lesson 17 that would have been for this week is about GMT and cannabis. And it's a topic that I just feel at this moment will be a little bit afield from what we've been talking about. We've been talking about everything that is planetary and personal ascension, direct reality creation, flying rainbow lasagna, and radical self-responsibility. So what I'm doing this week as my presentation is I had recorded an extra on lesson 16 for level 1 that was about ascension. And this one is really worth delving into. So today's presentation is the level 1, lesson 16 continued personal ascension that I recorded in 2012, 2013. It's a time capsule from that time. And I'm going to tell you what I recorded back then, what I was experiencing back then, and what I'm experiencing now, because we have had like, I mean, it's so funny when I'm in the recording on the whiteboard and I listen to myself 10 years ago, I say over the past decade. And now in my mind, I'm like, over the past 2 decades. Like, it's kind of amazing to me again when I came into this experience being a walk-in, and I literally thought that my journey would be complete or that everything would be wrapped up and at its culmination point in 2003. I literally thought my gig would be over in 2003, not in terms of death, but in terms of like this resolution and moving into higher self states. So yes, I'm continually amazed, but not disheartened. But I'm like, wow, it's been another 10 years. So you will hear me talk about that as I go through the recording today. So it's all about what I was going through in terms of the ascension process, 2012, 2013. And it's very relevant to what we're doing now because time does come in these cycles. And so we did 2001 to 2012 or 2013, that's roughly 10 years. And now we've done 2013 to 2022, roughly another 10 years. And we move in these cycles, but please don't think like I'm running on the hamster wheel and I'm not getting anywhere. You are getting somewhere. So first of all, longevity is positive. Still being here is positive. And it's a sign of coherence. Both in light waves and in sound waves, things go further when they are coherent, meaning the light waves stick together. My style went up when I say that. So yes, it means that we've been sticking together. So all of this is actually really positive. And I talk about that in the recording, how the sense of like, not being disappointed, like, hey, like I thought something magical in nature was going to happen. And I'm still here, still buying stuff at the grocery store or whatever is going on. Please don't feel disappointed or whatever, angered in the sense of, or irritated is a better word. Don't be irritated. Like, why am I still here? Hi, Rainbow Body. So good to see you. Thank you for tuning in, and let's connect sometime soon. And also, just to everyone who's in this class, Lucy, our lovely friend and participant in the class, she sent me an email and she was saying that it's hard for her to be able to find time to be able to be here present in the class, that she's sending lots of love and connection to you. So shout out from Lucy, shout out back to Lucy. What I was experiencing in 2012 was a little bit of letdown, but don't be let down because all of this is inevitable. When I talk about the return to that ascension pathway. It is inevitable, and it is a beautiful spiritual unfoldment. So it is the type of thing where it doesn't happen like according to one's expectation, like at 2:35 exactly, we will reach the ascension, which is also why I laugh gently at my own expectations of like, oh yes, like this will be done by 2003. Everything changes, and also a big part of flying rainbow lasagna is spontaneity, that which cannot be anticipated, and which happens, there's a sense of protection and encryption from something that just spontaneously arises. So what I'll do in this class today is have my notes from 10 years ago, and also intersplice that with what we're experiencing right now. And then also I want to talk a little bit, give you a little bit of backstory, or like gearing up for moving into next week. So next week is going to be a mega marathon. Instead of the usual 2 or sometimes 3-hour presentation that I do here, it's going to be from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We will have bio body breaks. You do not have to fast or anything uncomfortable in order to be able to get through it. And yes, a recorded archive will be made available to everybody that's in the class. So it will be on YouTube. I'll put it on my Patreon also. And for that, like when I'm asking people if they want to join the mini course, that means get the recorded whiteboards. So I know I'm speaking in like very fragmented ways and nonlinear ways. Coming up next Saturday, mega marathon, 5-hour ultra presentation of galactic history, self-protection from negative thought entities, basically all the backstory of why we need to do something like flying rainbow lasagna in order to bring us into the ascended state. Why are we in this disheveled state? Why do we need to get ourselves rearranged and reorganized back into our factory settings, or back into our pristine genetic code of the way you're supposed to be shaped and the way you're supposed to be moving and behaving through time? So I used to save all this information for lesson 18. Like when I initially recorded things in 2012 and 2013, I was like, okay, we're going to start off with the basics, the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, foundation of unconditional love, and then move up to the sense of, I have some bad news for everyone. Your planet's been invaded. Your genetic code has been invaded. A lot of bad stuff has happened. Talk about the primary trauma. And in the 10 years that I've been doing this, of course, the cat is out of the bag, that now things are spoken about much more openly. Many teachers or thought leaders or consciousness explorers make videos that are all about this, about planetary invasion, who's here, what's here. People have their own unique viewpoint that is acceptable, that is appropriate. It's like if you're on a mountaintop vista looking out at the world, everybody will see something like, I see a bird flying, well, I see the sun over there, well, I see this. That's all valid. I validate various different perspectives. I share with you from my eye of insight. That is everything. My artwork, my music is from my ears of insight. My eye of in here. I don't know what I would call it. Inner hearing. I'm getting silly. My viewpoint from my inner vision, and I share it with you as responsibly and with as much clarity as I possibly can, and also leave space and validation for others who are similarly seeing, sharing, and expressing through their own filter of being here, through their own lens or filter of being here. And that's a good segue into what I'm doing. But next week, I'm going to present both the level 1 stuff. So the way that the whiteboards are situated, if you join that mini course, there's one that is a 4-part series that I recorded in 2012, 2013. That's the basics about what we call them the pooties now, pesky occupiers of the interstices, the guys that are smeared on the membrane of death. Who are they? How did they get there? What are they doing there? Those are the negative thought entities. And also, of course, I'm always going to come up with effective tools, bucket and a mop, for what we actually do with all of that mess. As I pointed out, I'm not just going to be like, there's a mess, problems. I'm not that way. I will always bring up the solutions, which is, my only critique of anyone that's been talking about these items more openly in human society over the past 10 years, that sometimes they are presented as like, oh no, the house is a mess and there's nothing that can be done. Like, I don't want you to go into that kind of mood. I want you to really go into like putting on the gloves, bucket and a mop, going into cleanup mode, because this is all empowerment teaching. That is where I come from on this. And also very, very cognizant of the sense that our mind emanates reality, our imagination and thought structures are what reality is built upon. Our voices are powerful and emanate sound creation into the world. So I don't only want to give thought energy and vocal energy to, there's the presence of something that we don't like. I really want to give it to acknowledgement of something that is not supposed to be in existence, and how to bring it out of existence. Positive recognition and acknowledgement of the problems, it structured in the context of problem solving or responsibility, responsiveness to situation. Because when you're a cosmic adult, you're responsible, meaning you're responsive to the situation that is going on, which means that you recognize and acknowledge it. So that is what is coming up next week. First, I'll do the level 1 4-part stuff. Then what I did about a year later, after I learned more about technology and artificial intelligence and that in an ancient and in a modern sense, that was 2014, 2015 or so, I recorded a subsequent level 2 galactic history. So everything that's in the whiteboard, that when you formally enroll and you get that link to Teachable, you get everything that I recorded 10 years ago. What I'm going to do is ask that people that are interested in participating next Saturday, go into that stuff, delve into it and listen to it, so that you're prepared for when I tell you stuff that's now going to be framed from this perspective or contextualized 10 years later, because I've certainly grown and changed and have lots of new insight and lots of new perspective from the mountaintop vista. And also our world has changed and is in the process of metamorphosizing. I wanted to say metamorphosed, but not quite there yet. You know what I'm drinking today. This is my wonderful raw cannabis juice mixed with some other veggie juices. Oh, very good. Art's in the chat, and he says they say they watched it last night. Totally appreciate you doing so. And that, thank you for being a very good student. My hat is off in recognition to the beautiful students of this class, the people who do their homework. But homeworks are fun homeworks. And also, if I'm lighthearted at any time through this presentation, please understand that it is part of the strength in the battle, because it can be challenging to talk about these things. So I'm never in ridicule. I'm never making this seem like nonsense. I am using humor and lightheartedness to help us navigate what can be emotionally difficult territory. And so then I'll give you the update of where we are right now in terms of how to effectively protect yourself from negative thought entities, how to respond to them. Some things are outfits that never go out of style. They're 10 years ago and I'm still wearing my Merkaba, like it still fits like a glove. And some things I do have augmented, like we are responding responsibly to situations that have changed. The situation, the landscape has changed. So some things are new techniques to be able to embody and know about. And yes, so all of this is coming up next week. So I'll just complete on this. Anyone who's already a patron, you do not have to pay an additional fee at all. And so I've put that link for you to be able to get those whiteboards on the Patreon aspect. Anybody who's already formally enrolled in this class, you're Teachable, you've already got access to it. It's level 1 and 2, lessons 18. So you can go in there in order to be able to access it. And anyone who watches my videos, and I thank you so much for tuning in, even if you're not formally enrolled or if you're not on my class email list for Zoom or anything like that, I appreciate you and I'm absolutely in gratitude that you're here eating lasagna ideas and sharing your own thought energy, like you're part of the energy field. And then if you wish to be able to be more fully participatory in what will happen next Saturday, join for the whiteboards, and then you can have access to that. And I always say this, that scholarships are always available. I want, my hands go on my hips over here. For 10 years, I've been doing this, feeling a little defensive because sometimes the negative thought entities try to come in through those vulnerabilities in me. So I will just reaffirm that scholarships are always available because my priority is in sharing this information and empowerment and planetary freedom. And that, of course, secondarily, supporting my work is important, but I always point to my electrons flowing in the wires and my electric lights. I have to pay the electric bill. And literally, I have to pay my electric bill soon. So contributions, donations, and your support of my work absolutely helps. And support of my work can also be recognition and speaking well of my work and sharing it with others. Thank you. So that's the end of that little, because the negative thought entities sometimes go into heavy criticism and judgment over commodification, even though we still are in a commodification world where it's necessary to put these things forward. So yeah, I do like to frame it as gift giving, sharings, and energy exchange. That is the most impeccable way that I can think of or that I can present moving within the money system, and also recognizing that we're moving out of the money system. If any of you guys caught my other video that I did, that is about a reflection that came from a post from 2020 that was about avoiding false ascension and really not requiring the intermediary of a money system to be able to manifest our ideal dream realities. When we actually achieve our superpowers, we are able clearly to fully manifest our realities. I joke, beyond tiny screws, beyond manifesting tiny screws or manifesting wheelbarrows, into being able to manifest whole like ecosystems of reality, whole entire experience of reality. So it might almost be unimaginable to the present perspective, but please know that it is there. That just like what after birth, after a person is born, like when you're in the womb, can't even imagine like, what is it like to go to a sandwich shop and, you know, order what you want and then eat the actual experience. When you go through the whole birth process and then you're on the other side of it, then you're like, oh, food, sandwich shops, make your own sandwich, then you kind of are getting it more. Okay, lightheartedness aside. Now let me move into the materials of today. So this is all about my personal experience of ascension that I was going through in 2012, 2013. 2012 was indeed an important time portal and consciousness portal, as everyone was expecting it to be. However, many people were stuck in the sense of an eschatological end of the world, end of themselves, apocalyptic or catastrophic expectation. And again, this is a reverberation of the primary trauma of this planet that I will speak about next Saturday. That is all about how what is known as the fall from grace, or the fall from Eden, or the fall of consciousness, or even the fall of Atlantis, the sense of a great civilized place, a great, incredibly elevated way of living that we don't experience anymore. And then there are many, many judgments based upon that: blame, judgment, guilt, shame, and that painting of that angel that's like got its wing out like this, like get out of Eden, and then making the humans get out. That, of course, is not something that I align with at all. But there was this sense at that time, if I can bring you back to 2012, December 21st, 2012. Many people thought like, it's the end of the world as we know it. And people were wondering what was going to happen and whether our planet would get hit by a comet or otherwise disintegrate, or what would happen in terms of destruction, because many people had the expectation that great destruction is necessary for the rebirth process to happen. And I'm here in order to tell you continually reaffirm to you that you can not demo. Renovate your house, not demolish your house. So if you have you buy a handyman's fixer-upper house and whatever, it's got all these different problems. You can demolition. Just knock it all down. It's actually the cheaper solution. Just get a bulldozer, bulldoze that whole thing down to the foundation. Sometimes even take out the foundation, pour a completely new concrete foundation, and then build the whole entire thing up. But of course, while you're doing that, you're going to live like in a tent, in a campsite, because you don't have a place to be. It's kind of a little bit difficult to occupy a house or a reality that is not actually there. And what you can do instead is renovation. If you say, okay, I moved into this handyman special, there's a problem with the roof, there's a problem with the kitchen plumbing, there's a problem with this, and there's a problem with this. Then what you do is, okay, which rooms are habitable? We're going to habitate those rooms, and we're going to go piece by piece. Like, I will take off this area, I will fix this part, we will have plastic sheeting up, don't go in that area of reality under construction, but you still have a place to be. In terms of your society, think about this: reno government, reno money system, reno how human industry treats ecosystem or relationship of self to ecology, reno human body form, and everything about food, drink, and healthcare, and the care and feeding of the human body form. So many things to renovate, so many ways in which society needs to be profoundly restructured. However, I'm very big on renovate, not demolition. So we have not had the demolition. And everybody has those little jokes about, like, you know, on a card, like if you get this many coffees and then you get a free coffee, then it's like this many apocalypses and then you get one free apocalypse for free. Like, we've got the punch card. We've been through this. And that should kind of affirm not only your your constancy, but also your faith and your capacity to be aligned with those timelines that are not on the membrane of death, that you are heading towards the central core timeline. You keep shifting away from planetary destruction and shifting towards a continuation of your own individual life and of the planetary ecosystem and of consciousness in general itself. That is all really important. That's what that teaching the death journey is about. I have to jump up to grab my sculpture. Hold on a second. I put it up over on top of a thing because it's a little bit delicate and I don't want it to get broken. So I put it up there and then I take it down when I need it. You can see like this part already got broke, but it's a pretty good sculpture. It's been through a lot. Going through the time vortex where you have the membrane of death here and the membrane of death here. And what you're trying to do is spiral up, 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 up in order to be able to get to this point, the singularity, the zeroth dimension, the source, the destination. And when I do this as a simplified line drawing in my whiteboards, I show you just like the cross section at the bottom, and I show these all as straight lollipops, but they are really spirals. So what you're trying to do is find exactly the right spiral pathway in order to be able to get all the way back up there. Like you have to aim very precisely to be able to get there. Accuracy matters. And that inaccuracies mean going at an angle that will end in the membrane of death. So this is the making the distinction between what is ascension contrasting with death, that these are two of these options in terms of how you navigate that time field. So the membrane of death is not inevitable. That was actually not part of our original program. I hesitated at using that word, but I think that it's fair. Let me just use software or computer language. Well, the caveat, I'm not a transhumanist. The original program of what we're supposed to experience here in reality was not to hit the membrane of death. Like imagine bowling, a game of bowling where there are no gutter balls. Nobody ever gets a gutter ball. Everybody gets the pins. The pins all get knocked down. The pins all get knocked down like huge, success, success, success. That is what ascension is. Ascension is that reconnection moment when, having been emitted from the source, coming into physicality embodiment, which is a type of slowed down light, and then revving up, getting faster and faster and faster and faster and faster until you return back to that infinity point. That is the journey. And when you return back, that is that moment of success. That is the I am God moment. If you want to go back in my classes, if you're new, if you're catching this for the first time, it's called the I am God circuit that I did this semester and many other semesters, where I teach about that exact moment and the culmination of all of this. So what is ascension, the process, like that moment of reconnection, boop, as I'm calling it, boop, that moment and the remembrance of God's self is, of course, the culmination of a very long process, just as the actual moment that a baby emerges from the womb is the end of a very long process, not only of gestation, but of the entire laboring process. And then, finally coming out, kind of in like one, 2, 3, you're out. So that is what we've been going through. And it's a cosmic moment. So I've been here as a walk-in for 20 years. Our planet has been going through this ascension birth process for 20 years. And that is even what my painting is all about. Go into my painting. Oh, wait, I have to go into, sorry, I'm squinting and scrolling. I'll get it. It's right here for you. This. I'm squinting and scrolling. I'm clicking on things. Well, let me go like this. It doesn't like me. Oh my goodness. Let me do a share screen. Yes. Sometimes you have to talk to the computer these days. It's very strange. When I said it doesn't like me, it's like, no, I do like you. I'll do this for you. There we go. This painting right here. And I'll just make this my face only for privacy for everyone. This painting right here is called Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And this painting is about an ongoing birth process. So I painted it. I thought of it around 2011, painted it in 2012. And a lot of what I do is painting events that are ongoing and also painting events that are things that I would like to bring into being. that I truthfully really believe in the sense of writing, speaking, musicking, and arting into reality the things that we wish to experience. So some things are an expression and a reflection of the things that we already have inside, and some things are the expressions of inner hopes and dreams that we wish to externalize and see in reality. So when I painted this, also I want to say, not always do I make paintings that are either anthropomorphic or human figured or narrative. But this one contains both of those elements. Like, I'm pointing to my dress over here and the paintings in the background. Those are highly, formed. Those are like math forms that are, of course, tell a story differently, but not on the same level as a narrative structure of like an embodied human. This painting tells a story. It tells a story of Earth's magnetosphere, which is, I don't know if you can see, there's little tiny silver dots that are kind of up here around it. But in the original, you can see that it's a toroid. It's Earth's magnetosphere. And of course, all of that centers on the convergence point. That convergence point at the center of the sculpture would be at the center of the Earth, or what people call Earth's crystalline core, which is a crystal that just doesn't look like, I keep talking off camera to do this, it just doesn't look like a crystal that's like this, but maybe it looks like a crystal that's like a black tourmaline or something like that, but that's still a crystal. Not a black tourmaline, but something that might be dark and heavy and metallic looking, still a crystal. And that, I don't want to color your experience of it though, but just when I say crystalline core, I always think of something that is a clear crystal, but just please note that they can have all sorts of different shapes and levels of opacity, even while the crystalline structure is an organized network. There, now I'm perfect. Toroidal structure, singularity, center of Earth's crystalline core, from which emanates Earth's magnetosphere. Earth's magnetosphere in this image, I show it as breaking apart or separating out and emerging from within that self state, the higher dimensional shape of a torus, which is the flying rainbow lasagna. So at the center of that painting, there's the flying rainbow lasagna, and it's a very accurate painting because here I have a simplification where there's just one smooth swoop, but really that painting shows that there are sub lasagnas. There's the overarching red or physical level lasagna. Then there's a lasagna that is the level color of orange, which is your emotions, yellow, which is your intellect, green, which is your heart, blue, which is your truth and your communication, indigo, which is your Christ connection in your brow and your imagination factory, for lack of a better word, and violet, which is your highest dimensional connection within the human octave. So you have actually 7 layers to the lasagna, 7 layers of, rotating, swirling pasta that's going around. And then you can see at the very, very center, I think I can make this bigger. Look at me making it bigger. That's so satisfying. Wait, first let's do an extreme zoom in on the dots. So you can see dots coming out of the North Pole, dots coming out of the South Pole, that is part of where the aurorae are located, Aurora Borealis and Aurora Australis, and that those are visible phenomenons of light that happen as the end result of solar wind and solar particles that interact with Earth's magnetosphere. Earth's magnetosphere is changing. This is the rectification or corrective experience of your primary trauma. That, you're like, well, wait, guys, last time the poles shifted, everything went into catastrophe. And then we ended up having to cook over a campfire. Everybody is afraid of that. Again, I love you and have compassion for you and acceptance of you and wish healing for you in recognition of your trauma. I give you the corrective experience, not north, south, south, north, but inside to outside and outside to inside. So this is a narrative piece that includes the transformations of Earth's magnetosphere, transformations and corrections of the pole shifting of our planet, and all of this within the backdrop of the sun. So behind this here, you have the solar disk, and that's supposed to represent all of the seething magnetic field lines, rumblings, immersions, explosions, emissions. The sun is incredibly active and beautiful as it's sending out tons and tons and tons of timelines and time particles that is meant to represent the solar disk. This is all an interaction of these many things. The sun, the energy of the stars, the energy of pure consciousness, energy of pure time, relating to the earth, a place of physical embodied presence, matter, mama, mother, the material realm being the mother within which consciousness gestates, and then this birth process, the emergence of the flying rainbow lasagna, a new form of reality that combines together the inside and the outside, or matter and energy, as Melissa and I joke about smatter, spirit matter, and the transformation or metamorphose of the human form into a less dense form. All of these things combining together. The variables, once again, the sun, stars, time itself, Earth, planet, planetary structure of physicality, humans live on Earth and are part of physicality, gestating in matter, and flying rainbow lasagna, combination of spirit and matter. All of those things are the variables, but I don't want to call them things and variables. I want to call them players, but I don't want you to think that it is a sociopathic video game. Let me drink my wonderful green juice. This one is really good. This is kind of more like blended up. So this one is the raw CBD cannabis leaves, the watermelon, organic watermelon that a lovely friend and student brought to me the other week, and then also some beautiful apples, because apples are juicy and that kind of help the whole thing. They're very, cannabis leaves are not very juicy. So it's good to use something that has a lot of juice. So I'm separating out in this presentation, and you know me by now, I'm reading off over here on my notes. I'm separating what I'm presenting to you today, separating my personal ascension journey out from the universal process of ascension that we've all been experiencing. This is big because ascension is like a birth process, and there exists a variety of types of pregnancies and birth experiences. It's different for each person, and this is what I've experienced. So that is very, very important. There's an enormous amount of unique biodiversity and also unique time diversity in that, for example, each one of you was born in a unique location around the world and at a unique time. That's part of the signature of your trajectory through your life. You have a unique DNA code, you have unique thoughts and feelings, and a unique rectification structure, how to move your Rubik's Cube so that you're exactly perfect and end up in exactly the right time space in reality. So I also have my own unique structure, my own unique trajectory, and my own unique experience. There's no right and there's no wrong. And I joke about this too. Some people, their birth is like in a beautiful jacuzzi. There's essential oil candles that are burning. There might be some nice relaxing music that's going on. It's very, peaceful, like the family dog is there. It's so nice. It might be under a tree or something like that. And some people are born like in a taxi cab, like in the middle of traffic. They never even made it to the hospital. They're stuck in the Lincoln Tunnel, whatever it is. And there's horns blaring everywhere, and it's stressful and it's difficult, and there's not a lot of support. Or some people have a hospital birth, whatever it is. There's no judgment on any of these things. There is simply the unique variety of experience that must be accepted and celebrated as part of the diversity of experience in the world. So please don't ever think that you are better, worse, worthless, or anything like that. No comparison. That's it. But basically, we're moving beyond ego comparisons. And that's also part of what a hallmark of the ascension process is, unity consciousness, and also moving beyond ego comparisons in the sense of who, like, I'm more this than you, but I'm more this than you, but you're this, but I'm more this than you. That just becomes totally nonsensical. And so similarly, the idea of comparing rates of ascension becomes a nonsensical ego contest. Like, I'm ascending faster than you, but are you more ascended than me? I mean, like, I'm making this silly face. All of that goes out the window. Yes, so that's where I'm coming from in contextualizing that. And when I share what I was going through in December 2012, I'll share with you from my personal levels of experience. My experience on Earth began in 2001, and my vibration has been rising and becoming faster and faster during this whole decades-long span. So now I say decades long, but when I recorded this 10 years ago, I said decade long. I had only been here for 10 years. So I started out in 2001, and then, like, if this is my frequency, if this is my rate of movement through time and ability to process emotions and information, I was going like, and then we got up to December 21st, 2012. So let me use music in order to exemplify this for you. Wait, and I might have to turn something down in order to, hold on. Let me turn this part off because I'm going to play weird stuff otherwise of what I was playing this morning. You're like, no, wait, play the weird stuff that you were playing this morning. Okay, wait, cancel. I'll play the weird stuff that I was playing this morning. Okay, you can only really hear it only a little bit, so I won't matter. It doesn't matter. Oh, wait. Wow, I'm sorry. I'm really just fiddling with too many buttons here. Sometimes that's what the technology is like for me, just like, I'm touching too many buttons. Okay, here's me coming in October 8th of 2001. And here's me going up the scale, getting to the first 10 years that I was here. Okay, getting faster. But then over the past 10 years again, it's been like this. So I don't know if I played that perfectly, but hopefully you're getting it. Starting out at this rate, getting faster and faster and faster until we got up to 2012. Then it's been a whole nother octave where it's been even faster, even faster. So it would be called like an asymptotic curve that it is shaped like this and it keeps on getting faster and faster. And when I say my personal vibration, what I talk about is the acceleration of my personal vibratory rate. It's been increasing at an exponential rate. And I experience things as moving faster. The rate at which my chakras are spinning began to spin faster, and the rate at which I could process information began to change. That's what I was looking for in my notes. So when I talk about spinning faster, what am I talking about? When I I am talking about this, all of these chakras here, all of these chakras spinning faster like bicycle wheels. So starting out kind of at, a rate like this, kind of at a rate like this, then getting faster and faster and faster. And that's not even the most fastness, that then it has been an acceleration even faster and faster. And when I talk about a faster rate, I'm talking about, remember I was telling you about persistence of vision, the ocular phenomenon that makes us tie together static images into what appears to be a moving picture, and that's part of like traditional film strips or animations with books. Makes you tie it together. You are the integument that brings those frames together, fills in the blanks, and makes it look like a big, long, smooth movement. And if you have more frames per second, you have a higher information rate. You are able to see in super clarity, what would be HD, high definition, and also sometimes super slow motion. Sometimes people experience this in moments of trauma. It could be like, the cars were colliding and I saw everything in slow motion, but it can also be in a positive, blissful state. Like if you are an athlete in your zone, and if you are extremely focused on the game that you're doing, you might be like, I saw the football flying at me in slow motion. I could tell exactly how and where to catch it. And then I could feel everything about my body as I turned and started to run on the field, and avoiding this person, calculating where everybody is on the playing field. So it is basically a super state of your consciousness, super sentient state that has to do with getting out of the yellow intellect, out of the verbalized mind, and into true higher intelligence self states, connecting to higher self, connecting to divinity, connecting to yourself as God, and then being able to go beyond the limitations of your neural processor in the physicality realm and move into higher levels of processing in a non-physicality state, like really beyond the limitations of your brain, consciousness as being a non-local phenomenon, as opposed to consciousness arising as a phenomenon of neurological activity, consciousness existing non-locally independent of your brain as a fatty idea catcher, and your consciousness being able to go faster than your brain. And you guys get this with me all the time when I'm like, my brain is moving faster, that consciousness is moving faster than my brain, which is all moving a lot faster than my mouth. The flapping of the moving mouth part seems like the slowest part. And I'm like, okay, I got all this stuff and I'm somehow going to have to put it into words that are slow. So what I've been experiencing is an increase in my internal rate of perception. My flicker rate is going faster and faster and faster since I got here in 2001 up to 2012, and then definitely from 2012 to this point now. And that means being able to pack more experience, information, and RAM in computer language, random access memory. It's the processing power, not the long-term storage memory, but the capacity to take different variables, different data, different experiences that are happening at one moment and process them or do something with them. More RAM per second to be able to handle all of these different things. So here's a good example. Like that old spinning of plates, keeping or juggling. We can use juggling as an example. Being able to juggle 3 things at one time. That is really cool. That is great. How about being able to juggle 12 things at one time? That means more RAM, more processing power. How about being able to juggle 12,000 things, 12 million things at one time, 12 billion things at one time? And then, of course, when you get up to God self state, juggling infinity number of things all at one time. And that is incredibly fun and cool and gratifying for God self state to do, and something that at a lower state you aspire to do. So that's what bliss is, moving into those higher dimensional states of being able to juggle more and more and more variables of reality and experience at the same time. So the acceleration of my personal vibratory rate was increasing at an exponential rate. And what that meant when I recorded this, 2012, 2013, I experienced that year as myself moving at the fastest rate up to that point that I had experienced yet. I experienced it as an intensification of energy that I had experienced up to that point. And what that means is all of the things that I was experiencing throughout that time, I kept experiencing, but even more and even more intensely. So that might be, for example, something like synchronicities. A synchronicity is when you think a thought and then you hear it on the radio. Like you're like, I'm eating a cheeseburger, and then on the radio, there's a song that calls Cheeseburger in Paradise. Like that's a good synchronicity. And if that happens to you once in a week, 20 years ago, you're like, wow, that really cool thing happened. What if it happens to you now, like 5 times in an hour? Like I was doing this and then this happened. I was doing this and then this happened, like all of those synchronicities happening. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that whatever phenomena one is experiencing, as the rate of vibratory rate increases and you're processing more RAM, you're still experiencing the same type of stuff more and more intensely, more of it, and also having a deeper impact or with greater levels of comprehension is not really the word, but salience. Salience meaning understanding, comprehending the significance or meaningfulness of what an event is. And if you really want to know about what the lens, the filter of perception, your lens, your Christ aperture is supposed to be, it is supposed to be a lens of salience through which we look at the world that tells us that matters, that important. Those are all the important things, and then blocks out or diminishes all of the unimportant signals. That your signal strength stays strong because you're like, I'm going to focus only on the stuff that matters and discount, put into the background, the stuff that doesn't matter and that I don't want to be focusing my attention, attenuos on. So chakra spinning faster, and the rate at which I began to process information began to change, and also the rate at which I could process emotions. So it can be synchronicities, how many synchronicities you have in a day. It can also be like, let's say if someone does or says something to you that like hurts your feelings, shoulders go down a little bit, and then you might have to be like, go home, like take a bath, eat chocolate ice cream, be like, I'm feeling bad about something. What am I feeling bad about? Oh, it's this thing. I have to write in my journal. It's going to take like a couple of days or hours. And you come out the other side. Then you come out the other side and you put on like whatever, like the empowerment music. You're like, I will survive. I will survive. I've come out the other side. No one's going to bring me down. And that's called emotionally processing, right? You go through this whole downward curve and then back up. When you do that fast, whatever, if you're on the internet or in a social situation, someone says something to you that hurts you, your shoulders go down, and immediately you go into depression, eating chocolate ice cream, comprehending everything that's going through, understanding it from a higher dimensional self-state level, and then coming through into empowerment in a second, process it in a second. And then you're able to respond effectively. That can be way more relevant than, I'm sure that everybody's had this experience where someone says something mean or cutting to you and you walk away. And then, minutes later, you're like, oh, like that's what I should have said. That's what I should have said, because it took you that amount of time to process emotionally. So please be in radical self-compassion over that. My capacity to immediately process emotional experiences increased since 2001 to 2012, and definitely increased again from 2012 to this moment now. Now, right, this is so, blah, blah. Okay, wait. Food is a major part of the change that I experienced, both in terms of the ascension process that was going on in 2012 and what I experience now. And we'll go into this because people sometimes ask me questions in the YouTube comments about what type of food I eat or what is my diet like and everything like that. So I do eat meat and I eat fruits and I eat vegetables, but what I eat is food that is alive, and I avoid food that is dead. So if you want to know what I encourage everyone, like in terms of what is food that helps you to ascend, what I was doing 10 years ago without even knowing it, I had a great obsession with kale chips that I made in my food dehydrator. That was just really good for what I needed in my body back then. Chlorophyll, which is also, I'm drinking a very fine vintage of chlorophyll this morning. Wait, let me drink a little bit. It's amazing. Chlorophyll is huge. Chlorophyll definitely gives us energy, and chlorophyll is an analog to hemoglobin in terms of the ability to carry oxygen in, or nutrients, I should say, in a system. So one is for plants and one is for humans. It is like the blood of plants is a good way of thinking of it. And it definitely relates to my journey of being a sun eater, which I'll also tell you about. Changed and shifted from 2021 to 2012, 2013, and then from 2013 to 2022 now, because I moved to California, and I moved to California for this reason, because we generally have very consistent sun, and that is not something that's truthful 5 months out of the year in upstate, New York in the mountains. So, but getting into food being a big part of ascension. So I also joke about this. I initially thought that I would be here for just a couple of years. And I also, when I first came here, didn't know anything about physicality food. And I thought that I could eat pure light, as we do through here, because I did not comprehend that this was a different level of density until I came here and experienced it. You're gonna have to eat physical food. And then I did not really know a lot about the variety of food nutrients, what types of food go into the human body, what are the best foods to eat at what time of day, what are the best food combinations. I didn't know anything about that. And I spent a couple of years doing what everybody does in the world, that expression, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. I imitated and followed those around me, and I was really trying to fit in. So I did all of the things that people did around me. And then I learned one by one, like, that is not food for humans. Don't eat that stuff. That is not food for humans. And don't do that, and don't do that, and don't do that. And so then after I started to learn just by like trial and error in the laboratory, cellular laboratory of my body, I have dog hair or something like that in my eye here this morning. And I tried to cause and effect, trial and error of what is in the body. Someone sent me a video in 2006 that was a cautionary video. Genetically modified organisms in the food chain had only just started to be a thing, and they were really trying to help to inform me and protect me from what was happening. That was radical, because I didn't know anything about really where food came from or the growing process or farming or anything like that. But I learned a lot about that in that video and about what was being done to the food supply. And I immediately made a choice that I wasn't going to eat corn anymore, because back in 2006, it was only a problem, an issue with that particular crop. And of course, now there are many genetically modified crops. There's corn, genetically GMO, corn, soy, wheat, some papayas, some fruits, tomatoes, so many different things that have been genetically modified. Brief aside, how is genetic modification different than selective breeding over time? For example, carrots that are orange come from Queen Anne's lace, which is the wild carrot. They don't look anything, the roots of the wild carrot are small, woody, and white. They don't look anything like the big, orange, juicy, sweet carrots that we have here and have only a mild carrot flavor. How did that turn into this? The answer is through selective breeding. That's like, how did a wolf turn into a chihuahua? The answer is through selective breeding. Very, very different than the process of genetically modifying an organism, which has to do with sorry that the word just slipped away from me. It is more like gene splicing, but the gene splicing is very inexact. So they take like a big giant, here's the genetic code that is pristine, here's a big giant shotgun full of genetic material, and they splat it onto there. Splat, not splice, splat and splice. I don't remember exactly what it's called, trans something. Apologies that just slipped my language centers. But you can do a little bit of research in order to find that. I learned all about these things in that video and intuitively knew that it was antithetical to the ascension process. Ascension, in order to ascend, what you need to do is eat light. need to eat light. Ascension means getting your light body metabolism faster and faster and faster, accreting more light into you, and you get faster through eating more light. So you eat sunlight, and then you also got to do something for your physical body, which is eating physical food light. And the physical food that you eat can absolutely help you on your ascension, or it can be stuff that is like ballast or slowing down or even stopping or inhibiting the ascension processes. And same thing with drugs and pharmaceuticals and things like that. Some things help and support the process. Some things do not help and support the process. And many of the things that have been done to the human food supply since I've been here, since, and especially since I learned about it in 2006, food supply being weaponized against humanity, against the ascension process. That's not an exaggeration. That's a truthfulness. So to be very cautious about what you eat. So what my journey was like was, I'm like, they're genetic, this is my face, like they're genetically modifying corn. Like, I don't want to eat any of that. And then I started to learn, like, corn gets made into corn syrup, and that's that sweet stuff. And then also, like, I've been dealing with epilepsy, so I've been staying away from sugar and carbohydrates. Just, I started to learn about my body, that is not the ideal thing for my body and my brain, because that can be a trigger for seizures. So I was like, oh, well, I'm just not going to eat corn or corn products anymore. And then I started to become a person who reads labels at the grocery store, and I educated myself so much. And I'm like, well, corn syrup isn't everything. It's in salad dressing. It's in savory foods. It's in things that you would not expect it to be in. And then because I'm very like disciplined, when I learned about that, then I'm like, okay, time for me to start learning how to cook and prepare food. So for me, it wasn't until like 2006 or 2007 that I started really to learn about the food supply, farming, and then cooking. And then I did a lot of watching Food Network to try to learn recipes. Like, literally, I went on all these journeys that humans go on. So I went on the journey of learning about food and learning about food combinations and how to prepare it effectively. All of this then in order to say that by 2012 and 2013, I had figured out how to find the cleanest, most bioavailable foods that were good and right for me at that time. So in the notes, I talked about what I was eating, what my diet was like then. All of this, just like a woman, I've not been pregnant physically, but recognition, shout out to all the beautiful mamas out there who have gone through the actual pregnancy, birth, gestation process. And listen, a lot of it is listening to your body. When you're like, we joke about pregnant ladies wanting pickles and ice cream, but whatever are the nutrients that you are craving. I'm not endorsing this, but one of my lovely friends that I was meeting with in New York years ago, she was heavily pregnant, and we were in New York City, and she was like, I just want to go to Katz's Deli and I want to have a hot dog and a Hawaiian punch. That for some reason, those were the magical nutrients that her baby needed at that time. So of course, we made sure that her baby got what she needed, and of course, pickles. And I'm sure the baby is happy and healthy too, and has grown up and is now a teenager, probably getting ready for college. Amazing. But all of that in order to say that mamas know that these cravings mean something, and that they have to be able to get the nutrients at the right time for being able to successfully build, the growing life that is inside of them. And that's how you can also, all of you, of all conglomerations, males and females, even if you have or have not been pregnant or know what pregnancy is, think of yourself as being pregnant or gestating your true form. That is what the caterpillar in the chrysalis is all about. You are in that form, and it's necessary for you to have the right nutrients to be able to build your adult winged body. That's that guy in the background. And I like that because it shows the wings very, very easily. Your time body, your light body. You need to be able to build your light body. So everything that I was talking about in 2012, 2013 was about what were my quote unquote pregnancy cravings for my light body, for my baby light body that was growing at that time. Kale chips. That was a big thing for me. And this was, again, before I moved to California, before I got access to raw cannabis, before I began drinking that juice and going on the whole juicing lifestyle, because I do that a lot. And that's where I get a lot of my chlorophyll now. So back then, what I would do is get lots and lots and lots of kale, and I had constant dehydrator going, and I had wonderful different recipes. My favorite one was high quality olive oil, sea salt, and I'll talk about how important salt is, and then nutritional yeast. And of course, nowadays I have to caution everyone, if you work with nutritional yeast, please make sure to get non-genetically modified nutritional yeast, because there's a lot of genetically modified nutritional yeast out there. And that's unfortunately true of many vegetarian and vegan products, that although you're trying to do good things and eat in a positive way for yourself and for the planet, there are many genetically modified soy, blah, 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 protein, and other additives that are sometimes GM that are put in there. So that is just a caution of this world. Like, again, challenges with the weaponized food system. Just rewinding for a moment, salt. So, okay, I had big chlorophyll needs, and did that with kale chips. Oh, and why dehydrated kale? Like, why not just a kale salad? Because I found the process of dehydrating the kale, like I have a relatively small stomach. And so to be able to fit like a giant bowl of kale in there, like I wouldn't be able to eat as much. It's a way of concentrating the nutrients. So I was wittingly or unwittingly concentrating the nutrients that I could get from the greenery by taking the water out of it, and then being able to eat what would be a giant bunch of kale, becomes like a smaller, more manageable amount of kale chips. I'm wanting them so much right now. I need to get a new dehydrator. That is so good. And it also made sense to me living on the East Coast. When I lived in colder climates, your body heat is required to digest cold and raw foods. So that's why it's a lot easier to be on a raw diet if you live someplace like an island in Hawaii than if you live someplace like Sweden in the middle of the winter. That's just basic common sense. That should seem basic, because also there are no fruits that are growing naturally in Sweden in the middle of the winter. And I bring that up just because we have a lovely student who lives there. So eating a lot of cold raw salads at that time of the year might not be the best thing. When I lived in a colder climate, I found that I did not want to eat a whole big giant like cold raw salad, but the dehydrated kale chips were very bioavailable to me, and that they didn't seem to take so much body heat to have to digest. And so what do I do now? Contrast with what do I do now? So because of my sun needs, I moved to California, where I now have 12 months of the year of being able to do sun gazing. That was back when I only had like 5, maybe 6 or 7, let's say half of the year that I could do sun gazing. And now what I do is I have access to my raw CBD cannabis garden. And so, yeah, the reason why I'm such an advocate for being able to grow cannabis oneself, as opposed to just access commercially available tinctures and other products, is because you can spit in the bucket, make it unique to your bio needs. The plants will literally respond through your biochemicals that are in your saliva. Aurora, saliva, gross, no, magical. That you have a unique biochemistry that's evident in your saliva, that if you spit in the bucket and then you pour that onto your plants, if they're tomatoes or carrots, or if they're cannabis, the plants will literally respond to your biochemistry and grow their exact plant phytonutrient profile, customized to what you need for your own body. You develop a beautiful rapport with your plants. So I've been doing that for almost 10 years at this point, as I've been living here. So not only my strain of cannabis as it has been bred over many years, but also the watering that I do and the care that I do of them. It makes that plant's leaf unique for me. It's like, I'm growing it for you. And then I take it and I do one of two things. If I have an abundance of plant material, I will juice it in a slow masticating juicer. If I don't have that much plant material, what I will do is take the leaves, put them into a blender, or you can use a NutriBullet or a Ninja, but don't heat your leaves. So put it in there with frozen fruits cubes or ice cubes or juice cubes. So you've got something cold, so that the whirring of the motor does not heat up your juice, because you want this to remain raw. You don't want it to be cooked like some kind. It will taste gross, and also it will become activated. No offense with activated, but I just want you to know that I like it raw, and that's what I'm trying to advocate for. And it's amazingly bioavailable for you in your body. So yes, juice cubes or frozen juice cubes or something to cool it down, so that your juice doesn't get heated and activated. That's where I get my chlorophyll from. And then sometimes I also make raw truffles out of the plant's flowers, that I put them in a Cuisinart with something like coconut manna or unsweetened chocolate. And, like you make like power energy ball, bee pollen, whatever you put in there, and eat as long as it is raw. And so that also is a very good source of chlorophyll. And yes, you must blend or juice instead of just eating a giant raw cannabis salad, because the plants have tiny hairs on them, they're called cystolith hairs. That is what they have developed as a natural defense against browsing animals like deer. So if you eat them, if you eat the hairs, they will irritate your tummy. Be like, ow, I don't want to eat that plant again. This is what deer do. They're like, chomp, chomp, ow, I have a tummy ache. I don't want to eat that plant again. I'll go eat something else. So yes, you don't want to be like deer. You want to do some form of blending or masticating so that those hairs get, they will be irritative to your digestive tract. So that is what I do now. But I still, as I'm talking about this, I'm like, I want to return to my kale chips. So I used to do olive oil, and the quality of olive oil that you choose also really matters. You must choose the unrefined, unpolluted, non-genetically modified, non-diluted olive oil. And there's a lot of fake olive oils on the market. So you have to make sure and do your research that you're getting the kind that is pure. The sea salt, let me talk about the shape and type of sea salt. So all salt is not the same. I have very high sodium needs and always did since I came into this body. And sodium is one of these neurotransmitters that is essential to be able to have energy signals go up and down your body. And I find that because I do so much flying rainbow lasagna activity, and because I do so much different type of psychic work and energy work, that I use up a lot of sodium, and I also use up a lot of calcium and a lot of potassium, which is why usually you see me drinking my pink electrolyte water, which is exactly what it has, those things in there. And I have one that is like a non-sugar sweetened, because now I just stay away from sugar entirely, because most of it is genetically modified anyway. But also not that good for my brain. So higher sodium requirements than the human baseline. And I recognize biodiversity. So please work with your own body and your own energy and activity levels. But the salt I really learned from my body, that is like in something that's a commercially prepared food. Like if you get some chicken Parmesan and it's got a lot of salt in there, it makes you like really, really thirsty afterwards. It's not the same to me as sea salt. Sea salt has this type of, a particular type of saltiness that doesn't just make me thirsty, but it is satisfying in some way. And it also contains micronutrients. Now, there are many problems with ocean water. So you want to get sea salt that has all of the micronutrients that you need, but avoid seawater, sea salt from places, wild harvested sea salt from places where it is contaminated. Like you would not want to have it from the Pacific, because as I spoke about cesium-137 and then concentrating that all down into sea salt and then sprinkling that on your eggs in the morning would not be pro-ascension at all. But I also found, even in terms of the varieties of sea salt, you can get the kind where all of the grains are completely regular and it has been milled or processed in some way. That was not acceptable to me, but that the only type of salt that was really acceptable to me is the kind that are these irregular crystals and crystalline forms that happen from the natural sea salt harvesting process. So there's a brand that I like that is Celtic, that's from the North Sea up in Scotland. Shout out to any of my people up in Scotland, my students, not my people, students and people who tune in. I don't want it to sound like I'm in ownership of you. But thank you, and I welcome you for being here. Living and same thing with like Scottish salmon. Like if you can find something that is from that area, much, much cleaner than things that are in the Pacific. Sea salt. And then there's a couple of other ones that are from around Europe that are in places that the seawater is relatively clear, you know, relatively clean of other contaminants. And so sometimes I have one that is called Malden right now. They look like flakes or like squares or chunks. And it's very nice. There's one in France, Fleur de Sel. These are expensive. I will not joke with you. They are expensive. And I use appropriate amounts of them. So very, very different than be like, pour, you know, a quarter of a cup into your spaghetti water. And I don't even make spaghetti. We'll go into that too. But yes, I don't use it for cooking, and I use it as a seasoning on top of food. And mostly, and so Rainbow Body wants to know about pink Himalayan salt. Pink Himalayan salt is a good alternative. It is mined. It does not come from the ocean. It comes from salt deposits that are ancient. One of the only problems, though, is that some of the mining is not only a little bit ecologically destructive, but puts impurities into the salt because they use dynamite to make it go boom. So there can be residues of dynamite in the pink Himalayan salt. So just be mindful of that. All of this, I don't want to make everything a fraught quagmire and a landmine. Like, I can't eat this because it's this, and I can't eat this because, like, these are my shoulders. Like, I can't put my foot on the ground because there's something, I can't do this because there's. Eat food, bless food. Eat food and bless food. And it's also like some kind of Portlandia episode. Like, I want to eat the chicken. Is the chicken free range? Can we visit the chicken? Can we see? Does it have a nice bed? Does it have a pillow? To be so specific about all of these things. When you can make good food choices, when you can make your choice about salt, make good salt choices. And I will, order it from a particular website online, and then that it's enough salt for me for a year, whatever. A little bag like this can be enough salt for a year. And there was another one that was like that I ordered that was from an online source. It's like supposed to be the purest form of sea salt, and that it's artisan grade. I absolutely advocate for this. Like that, one bag will last you for a year. Get that salt and make that be your salt again, because salt is absolutely essential and micronutrients are essential. We're talking about little tiny crystalline forms that absolutely are a part of your pineal gland, which is a part of your ascension. Most of our soil is depleted. I talked about that in my different classes. Soil depletion post-World War II due to artificial nitrates. Again, this is part of, I'm sorry, it's upsetting, harm to our planet, harm to the skin of Earth, harm and degradation to the food supply, dumbing down of the food that is like a carrot that looks plump and juicy and orange, but doesn't actually contain the micronutrients that you need. Upshoot of all this is you need supplements. Upshoot of all this is it is not enough in the time 2022 to simply go to the store and eat a variety of organically grown fruits and vegetables, because many of them were grown in depleted soil, and then many of them are grown under the sun simulator. You need supplements. And so it's really good to take these different types of things in order to be able to get all of the micronutrients that you need. And I even like taking certain types of clays. Like I have a very good source for the marlinite. Oh my God, I can't talk. Hold on a second. Montmarlinite, aka clinoptilite, aka zeolite, but not industrial grade zeolite. Zeolite that is from a particular deposit that is food safe. And again, it comes from UK, so it's a bit expensive for me to get it in the United States, but less expensive for our friends in Europe. Contains micronutrients, sequesters heavy metals, brings down the body, and contains micronutrients. So eating clay that is food safe can be an incredibly good source of being able to get these little tiny crystals. And then also, I think I talked about that ormus, however you say it, this particular type of superheated bamboo salt that I really like from Dancing with Water. They are a wonderful company. Again, I just endorse them. I don't always do that. I love their book. I love everything that's on their website. I have many of their water structuring tools and have such positive experiences at their ormus salt. I put a tiny drop of that in lots and lots of diluted water in the morning, and that is essential. That is for activating your pineal gland, because you need these tiny little crystals to go up there. But then also you should do pineal cleanse with things like holy basil, the turmeric, the things that take heavy metals out of your body. So you're taking out the stuff that you don't want to be there and putting in the stuff that you do want to be there. All of that is part of ascension too. So, okay, what is this all about? I had to grow my physical structure in order to accommodate more light and more energy. So at that time, I've always been relatively slender. I was very slender at some times. And then in 2012, 2013, I really noticed that my body in this unfoldment process and gestation process wanted more calories. I gave my body more calories, and I also really want to do a lot more strength training exercises. And now you can see like I'm even more muscular. It's funny when I look at my self-portraits and pictures of who I was and what I was doing back then, I'm like, oh, like, my arms look so skinny. And now I look more muscular again. That there's a reason for that. It's mitochondria. So I am prompted at certain times in my life, my body wants to have more protein and more bioavailable building blocks for making muscles. And I want to do a lot more muscle building stuff so that I have more mass in my body, and be like, Aurora, why not just eat a lot of like ice cream and chocolate pudding? You'll get more massive. Fat has fewer mitochondria than muscles. It's not just about being more massive and having more mass in my body, because mass turns into energy or flying rainbow lasagna. It's also about mitochondria. What are mitochondria? Mitochondria used to be tiny little bacterial stuff that lived outside of the human body. This is like in evolutionary times, biological evolution, a long time ago. And then one day they came inside of the cells and they're like, we're your pals. We are not invaders. And we are going to give you energy. You're going to give us food and we're going to give you energy. And those mitochondria became part of our became hugged into the cell membrane. Now my mitochondria are within the hug of my arms, and they're actually the batteries that make us go. Mitochondria is good. Guess what helps mitochondria? Chlorophyll helps mitochondria. And that there's actually, interestingly enough, in your body, two different types of DNA. There's mitochondrial DNA, and then there's the genetic sexual reproduction DNA of your body. And these are two separate codes. So just interesting stuff there. Mitochondria are your friends. Mitochondria are your friends. Mitochondria are your friends, and they're awesome, and you want them, and you grow more of them, and you get more energy when you build muscles. Do exercise, build muscles, and of course you can build all sorts of different types of muscles, from extremely striated muscles to smooth muscle fibers. It's not necessarily about looking like a big giant bodybuilder, but it is about having that muscular structure in your body so that you can hold more energy. Ascension, moving faster, moving at a faster rate, has everything to do with being able to contain or embody more energy, more light, more information, more divine connection. So fat, I'm not fat shaming at all. Fat is great. Fat is an insulator. Fat is what is on the outside of the electrical wires that keeps the signal inside. And muscles is what generates the signal. So you do want to have body fat. Body fat is good. Body fat is fantastic. And healthy fats are great. And so here, if you guys don't know, like, so in your body, you need to have healthy fats that are part of your myelin sheath and also your fatty idea catcher. You also need to have fats that are part of your muscular skeletal body and integuments of your body, like your, tendons and things that hold things together. You need to have all of those things in your body functioning correctly. So for neurological health, you need, for all of this stuff, you need to have a balance of different types of fats. Some of them are omega-6, omega-9, omega-3, MCT. There's different, basically, chains of molecules. You need to have a balance of them, basically a healthy balance of fats that are liquid at room temperature versus fats that are solid at room temperature. So here, I know I live someplace where it's very hot. The coconut oil is always liquid here, but in regular places, the coconut oil that you can, like white coconut oil, sometimes it's solid. Like if it's wintertime, the coconut oil is solid and it's white at room temperature, as opposed to olive oil that is kind of liquidy and splashes all around. You need to have both of those in your diet. So you have some things that you cook with coconut oil, some things that you cook with olive oil. You need to have both of them in the lipid structure of your body. And if you want to know what is a really good type of oil that you can use, hemp seed oil is great and has a very good natural balance of these things. But hemp seed oil is good for salads. Put it on your salad raw. Hemp seed oil is not that good for frying your eggs in the morning. Fry them in olive oil. Don't buy fake olive oil, buy real olive oil. It's really wonderful for fats in your body. Okay, hemp seed oil is fantastic. Oh, I don't want to lose that train of thought. That was important stuff. It'll come back. Hold on a moment. I will go into the comments. I'll get back to what I was talking about with positive oils. There we go. Black cumin seed oil for neuroregeneration and neuroprotection. What helps your myelin sheaths of your body. And because that was an attempted censoring of my mind. Important stuff when that happens. Like, why can't I think that thought? Because it's important. Better get back to that thought. Tell everybody about it. Black cumin seed oil. It does not taste very good at all. And I have like a pretty high tolerance for eating gross stuff that's good for me. So I say get it in like these little gel capsules, and that way it also goes further into your digestive tract before it is absorbed into your body. So it kind of goes inside, coats everything. But yeah, that is very healthy, very healing for not only the lining of your intestines and digestive tract, but also the myelin sheath, the fatty sheath that covers the neurological impulses going throughout your body. And also MCTs are good for that too. That's medium chain triglycerides, and those are mostly found in coconut oils. People with dementia and other forms of neural cognitive diminishments seem to do better when they take even a spoonful of like coconut oil or MCTs every day. So those can be two really positive things. Please don't, everybody tells you like, but don't eat butter and your heart health and this and that. You have to have a balance of these two things. And also in terms of heart health or the clogging of arteries and fats that are solid at room temperature, it is also huge about inflammation. So the reason why many blockages happen in arteries is not simply because of clogging it up with, some solid coconut oil. It is really because of inflammation, which is goes hand in hand with creating clots or clogs in artery areas. So in order to truly do things, because you think, my grandmother ate butter every day and fat and lard and lived to be 100 and also ate an anti-inflammatory diet. eat an anti-inflammatory diet, and then you will not have a problem with these things clogging up your arteries. And we can talk about what anti-inflammatory diet is, and also PS, depression and anxiety are actually problems with brain inflammation. So you can help yourself even if you don't think you have an inflammatory problem. If you suffer with anxiety and depression, do an anti-inflammatory diet. We can talk more about that. Melissa says, I'm a big salt user. Good kind to shoot for, on top of what Aurora is saying, is to shoot for gray salt. Usually comes in a bag, kind of still wet and dirty, gray mineral looking, and all sorts of gray minerals, gray sea salt. Thumbs up, totally agree with that. And Trisha is saying iodine for the pineal. It depends, I would say. Some people need iodine, not everybody does, but look into your needs. That can be helpful. Rainbow Body wants to know what is the name of the bamboo salt. Hold on one second, guys. Hold on. Got this from the back room and also hugged my dog for a moment. So you can see they put it in this lovely mylar pouch because part of the ormus is the spin, and you want to protect from EMF, crapola. Keep your stuff spinning. Don't let it get all crapola. This is from the beautiful Dancing with Water website, and this one is called Dance of Light. And it is a blend of a variety of different types of salts. It's extremely small. Dead sea salt, Himalayan salt, Celtic, French gray salt, Korean salt, Redmond salt, Hawaiian salt, and Dead Sea salt dew, and then bamboo salt. So basics on what is ormus and where did it come from. Monks a long time ago used to put this special type of salt into hollowed out bamboo and put it into a kiln fire, like a very high fire for making ceramics. And it changes the molecular structure of the salt. They would put it into tubes, seal the ends of the tubes, bamboo, into the fire. Hot, 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 changes the molecular structure of the salt. And then they would take small amounts of those salt. It makes it not only differently bioavailable, it changes the structure of the salt, and that those tiny crystals are needed for pineal gland health. I notice a big difference when I take the beautiful bamboo salt every day in terms of my clarity of my mind, clarity of my perception, clarity of my inner vision. And I consider that to be of great benefit to everybody.
What's the name again?
I'll show it to you. Dance of Light. Dance of Light, made with bamboo salt. You got it. Melissa says, food pyramid handed to us in school should actually be turned upside down. Totally. The opposite is true about USA food chart, where grains should be the least eaten. What a great segue. Thank you very much for that. Yes, food pyramid and agriculture is heavily influenced by the FDA. It's bought and paid for. Don't listen to it. Let me get a drink of regular water. Hold on, guys. It's my regular structured water that I have over here. I eat very few grains. And as I said, I started to learn about genetically modified corn in the food supply in 2006. And I said, that is not for me. And then back then I still ate like bread, pizza dough. You know, I would eat in my local pizza shop, because in New York, like, pizza is very ubiquitous and inexpensive. And then I started to learn about how they were genetically modifying wheat and then using glyphosate on the genetically modified wheat crops. Then I started to avoid pizza dough and bread and all of those things too. And then it pretty much just went out of my diet. And what I really felt in that time, I remember very vividly, walking down the aisles of grocery stores, and walking down that bread aisle, you usually smell bread, and it's like, that smells like home. That smells amazing. Like, the smell of fresh bread is definitely a joy of life. And I would walk down those bread aisles, and it smelled to me sharp, kind of like an unpleasant aftershave, and also dead. And I was like, oh, I don't want to eat any of this stuff. It's not life-giving, life force energy food anymore. So at this point in our world, we just have to recognize, I'm never cursing your food. Please eat your food and bless your food and be in gratitude for it. However, food is extremely degraded, and especially the breads and the pastas and things that are made out of wheat, they always felt a little dead to me, because you take the wheat berry, grind it up, bleach it with flour, store it on a shelf for a very long amount of time. It's got like very little life force energy left in it. But then after you do all of that, and then it's also got the genetically modified qualities and glyphosate in there, all of that feels dead to me. And what you're trying to do when you're ascending is eat stuff that is light and filled with light. So like I said, some stuff helps you ascend. Some stuff is just, neutral filler, and some stuff is actively preventing you from ascending. And at this point, I feel like the genetically modified grains and all that stuff, it's highly inflammatory, and definitely feel like it's on the anti-ascension path, not even just neutral, but like going into the negative territory. So for me, they're not that tempting. Once I really feel that sense of like, oh, like it feels dead, it doesn't feel that tempting to me, then I really go away from it. So I started moving into coconut flour and almond flour, and even cauliflower flour as alternatives. Cauliflower crust pizzas, I was doing that for a long time before it became commercially available, did all these things. And now I'm very big on almond flour. People have told me, oh no, the almonds are sprayed too. But I'm like, I can't deal with this. So yeah. And I'm in California, where there's many, many almond farms. So now, like, if I'm going to make a cookie, I'll make something that is made out of almond flour and, of course, some kind of alternative sweetener. And mostly what I make is this wonderful, going off camera, but I just made my bread this morning. My wonderful bread that is made out of almond flour, real olive oil, real, free-range pastured eggs, real baking soda that does not have aluminum in it, real sea salt, and then you can also put in like some lemon juice, some lemon shavings to make it taste good, or whatever flavorings you like, but no sweetener, and it tastes very, very good, and it's lovely in the morning with a cup of coffee. So that is like, I make my own stuff, and I make it out of almond flour. You have to be a badass in this world to kind of be able to not have problems with the food supply. You can't just be like, I'll just buy whatever. Like, I'll just head on out to the coffee shop and buy a muffin of whatever. Like, they're not going to be filled with the best stuff. It's going to help your ascension. Not that I want to curse your muffins. I don't want to curse any of your food, and I want you to eat it, enjoy. And also, yes, I have eaten wheat and I have eaten pastries. It is like a ceremonial thing for me. If I'm going to do something like that, maybe once every 6 months. I told you I went to this wonderful French pastry shop that was here in California. That was like 10 months at this point. But I had an almond croissant that was like of the gods. It was amazing. So if you're going to do it, do it. And it was amazing. But I would just say not to do it all the time or very often. And Melissa says, good to cook, make your own food, to touch with your own hands. It is absolutely love. It is an expression of love, and it is an expression of positive manifestation, just like manifesting tiny screws. We're going to start to get into that too, as you're manifesting, starting to realize, well, wait, I'm eating light, but I'm also eating physical food. But this physical food I manifested with my mind. I manifested the almond flour at the store. Oh, this is actually a good manifestation story, because I went to my local store and that one part was out. They had every other type of flour, but not my almond flour. And then I said to them, when are you restocking? Blah, blah, blah. We don't know. And then I went in yesterday to pick up a couple of things. And I'm like, well, let me see if there's any flour. They told me it wouldn't be here for a while, but I went and I found it. And so you can look at that reality structure and you can say, I manifested that out of my mind. I thought about it. I asked for it. I requested it. It's back on the shelf. And now I'm going to take that mind form known as a bag of flour along with other ingredients, take it home, and alchemically transform it with the ovens in front of my eyes and with the literal physical oven, turn it into bread that I can actually eat. It's mind food. It's solidified light. It's a gift from God. It's body of Christ. And also it's physical stuff that I thought about with my mind and made happen. And also it's diluted light. So there's, let's say, whatever, 10% of light in that stuff. And then the rest of it isn't light. But the 10% that is light is really important. That's going to feed my light body. And Rainbow Body wants the recipe. I will email you guys the recipe. All right, good. Okay, so all of this is about eating more light in order to grow a body that can contain more light, because you're going to need a lot of light when it's time to rev up. That's what it is. And the revving up is the moment of breaking forth from the cocoon of physical matter and making that leap into the higher dimensional levels. Do you know that when you are a little caterpillar and you're turning into a butterfly, butterflies don't eat protein. So butterflies do drink nectar. They have a different food source than caterpillars, but they don't eat protein. So all of the proteins that a butterfly has for its whole entire adult form of its life come from the time when it was a caterpillar and it ate leaves. Might even have eaten your garden. During the time when you're a caterpillar, you inch along, you don't fly, inching along, eating leaves. And all of the protein that you accrue as a caterpillar at that time then comes with you into the chrysalis. Your whole body turns into goo. Then you start to rearrange and become a butterfly. You come out the other side. You don't inch along eating leaves anymore. You fly around and you drink nothing but nectar, right? But you don't eat protein anymore. And literally all of the protein that you have, including the capacity to make eggs to make the next generation, comes from the time in your life when you were a little caterpillar inching along. Think of this time in your life as being a little caterpillar inching along. I'm eating my almond bread. I am eating my positive foods. All of those things are creating muscular structures and positive mitochondrial and protein structures in my body that is going to serve me when I am a coherent light being. Got it? And the story of the fried chicken that was the ultimate fried chicken that I ever ate at a holiday party. My memory of that fried chicken is still with me and will serve me and feed others in the coming form when we are adult light creatures that don't eat physical proteins anymore, but that still require the essences. That's what the flower nectars that butterflies eat. It's like the essence. Okay. My third eye also started to become much more activated 10 years ago, 2012, 2013, as per the recording. I have always had a very active third eye and doing a lot of this visionary work. I would have visions and flashes, but not necessarily seeing 100% all the time. That's important for everyone to know. And right now also, please know that we're in a world of, EMF soup and crapola vibes that might make it so that you're not seeing very much at all. You're in a fog or a miasma. Don't be down on yourself at all. But what I was experiencing up until then was like occasional flashes that then become much more intense and clear visionary experiences. And so that also relates to my sun gazing and sun eating. That when I first came here as Aurora, I would do sun gazing sporadically. And also, like I said, lived in the Northeast of the United States, where sometimes it's wintertime and there's not the sun. And I really felt what it was like having no sun and no sun on my skin and my body for many months out of the year. I felt a very big diminishment in my cognitive abilities, in my imagination, my creativity, and my energy levels in general, to the point that I engineered my life differently after the recording of this initial material to move to California to be able to have my raw cannabis juice and sunlight 12 months out of the year. My sunlight needs increased to the point where I knew if I wanted to keep on growing new leaves, I was going to need to have more sunlight. I needed a different climate. That is why I made life choices to be where I have access to the sun all the time. So I started to have more solar dietary requirements, and then I fed those solar dietary requirements and I grew even more leaves. And now I use the sun or eat the sun or commune with the sun all the time, that if there's one day when it's a cloudy day, I'm like, I'm so hungry. Where is the sun? I can't take it. I need the sun. I need the sun all the time. I need it. And that's what happens, that you get faster and faster and faster, and your nutritional needs increase and your solar needs increase. And at a certain point, you want to be with the sun 100% of the time and getting that nourishment from 100% of being in the sun. I'm trying to talk and read my notes at the same time. It's too difficult. I already got into avoiding sugars. And also what I was doing in 2012, 2013 was a mostly raw diet. So I did, of course, cooked proteins like chicken, fish, beef, and eggs, but mostly in terms of fruits and vegetables raw. And I'm still pretty much that way, but I want you to know, like, it's rare for me to eat a whole big giant cold raw salad. Like, I mostly eat protein and this is only for me, and do what is right for you. I'm not fully ketogenic, but I have been doing this to control epilepsy for many, many years. No sugar, no refined sugars, no starches. That means not potatoes either. Very, very rare for me to eat potatoes. Almond flour is like the starchiest thing that I eat. No pastas, breads, no rice, definitely nothing like that. And that also all feels very empty and dead to me. Not that I want to curse your food, but it does not feel like life-giving food to me. It's 50% protein. And so that, yeah, I eat meat and eggs And then also maybe like 35% fat. So a lot of protein and a lot of fat. And then carbohydrates is just like a very small amount. And a lot of the carbohydrates that I eat are these low glycemic sweeteners. That might be something like, monk fruit. Stevia is not even caloric, erythritol, slow release into the body, not fast release into the body. And then I also do low glycemic, which is instead of eating like pure carbohydrates that make your brain go through the roof, I always pair carbohydrates with fats and protein. So if I do some kind of a smoothie that's got fruits or something in it, it's got to have a fat like nut milk or something fatty, and then also have it with some eggs or something that's got some protein. This is what works for me. Please figure out in your own particular spiritual pregnancy what works for you. But I really have lost my taste for breads and pastas and things like that. I don't really lust after it or want it that much. Eating a pastry is, as I said, like a ceremonial activity that might happen on my birthday or a very special occasion. Milk, let's talk about milk. At the time of this recording, I was drinking raw milk, and I was part of a speakeasy back in Woodstock because it was illegal. I hope I'm not going to incriminate myself by saying this, but I was part of an illegal raw milk speakeasy where you brought your own mason jars and put them in a place and took raw milk out of the refrigerator and, whatever. Everything was very casual in that way. Raw milk is actually really wonderful for the human body. Cow's milk. Pasteurized cow's milk that comes from factory farm cows is actually not that great for the body. And again, once I started to learn about factory farming methods, and once I started to learn about how milk is produced in terms of the lack of care or respect of the reproductive systems of the cows that were giving us their milk, I didn't want to be a part of that energy. So it was actually a pretty easy transition for me to do coconut milk, almond milk, coconut milk creamer. There's all sorts of good products that are now, and I'm not judging anybody, but sometimes I get access to raw milk that might come from a local farm, and I'll drink that. And then goat's milk. Goats are much less adulterated in the way that they're treated in the dairy industry. So goat's milk, cheese, and things like that. Yeah, raw goat milk is really, really good. And it also has a different type of lactose that is more bioavailable. So milk, I know, is a big thing, but I'm not in judgment of anybody. And if you want to eat cheese, that's fine. Let's talk about, the Ascended Masters back then. My sense of whom I was talking to, what they were, or whether they were a thought form, is secondary to the sense that I felt that I was in touch with Ascended Masters who are vegetarian or espouse vegetarian lifestyle, and that they were always encouraging me to be vegetarian, which I experimented with many times and did not continue. My bio bodysuit has different needs. Always follow your own unique path, even when you're dealing with what you perceive to be Ascended Masters or spiritual truth guru guides that will tell you what to do in terms of your self-development. Please do what is right for you. And I'm also going to talk about eyesight, because that was a big part of my journey too. So yeah, I thought, like, in order to ascend, I'm going to have to be a vegetarian. That has not been my path. And so I have to love and accept my body. And it might also have to do with your blood type, but for me, a large bit has to do with avoiding seizures and other things that are the end result of eating a lot of carbohydrates. So heavy on the protein, but do what is right for your own body. Karma of food. Questions about karma of food are where most of the YouTube questions come from. What is it right to eat? What is it not right to eat? All these things. The basic answer that I give to you is just say, I shall use this food well. We live in this world where, first of all, it's not everybody has enough food. There are some places where there are food deserts where people only have access to processed foods. There are some places where it is extremely expensive, like to get a fresh raw tomato. That could be a very urban area, or it could be a place where it has a very different climate where tomatoes don't grow, Sweden or Alaska in the winter. It's just hugely, the judgment to say, like, be a raw vegan, like, that doesn't always work for everybody's body. That doesn't always work for everybody's economy, for your finances. There's some privilege there, is what I'm trying to say. Some privilege in the judgment of trying to think that everybody should only eat fruits or only eat vegetables. I do not agree with that. I feel that all food is actually a gift, although much of it is adulterated in this time and place. So to wrap that conversation up or cut the Gordian knot, eat food that's not genetically modified. Eat the food that is given to you as a gift and bless it and accept it into your body. Because when you bless it and you're saying, thank God, or I'm in gratitude for what I receive, that it literally creates a pathway to be quantum entangled with that food. And that's what you're doing. You're becoming quantum entangled with that food, and it is coming with you on your ascension journey. Parts of this almond bread that are light are coming with me on my ascension journey. And of course, the other parts are not coming with me. We have to say where they're going to go. They're going to go into the toilet. All right, that's what happens. Some parts come with me, some parts do not come with me. And my body has this amazing wisdom to be able to choose between these two parts. Yours does too. Be in gratitude. Gratitude is a major part of the ascension experience, and also be out of judgment because you're in love. Be in love, be out of judgment, allow people their paths, and also recognize that your path and your needs might also change, because what I recorded 10 years ago isn't right for me now. I was eating a lot of peanut butter then, and I eat no peanut butter now. It's not just the genetic modified qualities of it. It's just not appealing to me. So eat as many leaves as you need to as a caterpillar, because at a certain point, you're gonna be like, no, I'm done, I'm over it. And I'm definitely not wanting for that at all. Okay, let's talk about my eyesight, because when I was going through this stuff in 2012, 2013, I was really noticing, so I wear corrective lenses. My need for corrective lenses are an artifact of the brain injury that this body sustained right before I came into it in 2001. My eyesight went down a lot overnight, and that I even lived for a couple of years without corrective lenses. And it was like, it's like when you're a little baby, like you can't really see things, can't really tell what's out there. And, you know, I had to get something in order to be able to see, to correct my vision so that I could see and navigate in the world. Like I used to not be able to see people's faces or street signs or, you know, really navigate. And I had to be able to do that. And I had to be able to learn numbers and see, you know, street numbers, know where I was going, like to be literate in the world. I really needed to do that. So I've been reliant upon mostly contact lenses to be able to be in the world. And of course, when I talk about, you know, cultivating your body and really claiming your healing powers, a lot of that also goes to healing eyesight, whatever eyesight deficits you might have. It's not genetic, and it's not something that is set in stone. It is largely behavioral, and is also largely to the shape of the eyeball, which changes over time and changes in response to different life experiences. So I was very, very big and encouraged on the sense of going without my glasses and healing my eyesight in 2012, 2013. Again, even as I wanted planetary ascension to happen then, as I wanted to become a complete sunlight eater and not peanut butter eater, and I wanted to no longer have to use my glasses. What I found from experimenting with that at that intense energetic time was that there were times when I could go without my glasses or without my contacts, and I could see effectively. And I even used it as a barometer. Like sometimes I would feel like I was in my heavier or mundane thought form body, like the physical denser body, and then I wouldn't be able to see. But then when I'd be able to shift into a less dense, higher dimensional version of my body, I would be able to see. And it usually required this, a very, very sunny, beautiful day, like lots of abundant, natural, real sunlight before the sun simulator. All of this stuff that I was experiencing was before the sun simulator, which we're now dealing with, which is very, very troubling for me as a light eating person. But on a day when it was beautiful and sunny, and also when I was in bliss and I was doing items that I like to do, things like painting in my studio or some form of exercise or something that was fun and expansive, I really felt like I could go without my glasses and see comfortably and see details and see well. And then when it was times when it was cold, dark, not enough sunlight, and also when I would go into fear or anxiety or concern, my eyesight would go down. Literally, I could feel the oscillation between these two directions that I was going. And of course, was always trying to cultivate going towards ascension. And of course, if we had an untrammeled unfoldment, I think that I would have just gone straight on up that way. But we didn't have this untraveled unfoldment. Again, the disappointment, wah, wah, you didn't actually ascend. And yeah, you're here for 10 more years, but it's not really supposed to be that way. But clearly I need to be able to read street signs and drive places. So I went back to wearing my contact lenses out of a sense of pragmatism and necessity. Please know that your body has amazing, dormant, unexplored capacities that are and will come online more and more as not only your ascension unfolds, but as the inhibitors. Because I'm all talking about GMO foods and things like that. You have a lot of poisonous sunlight that's not real sunlight that's coming down. It's lies. When I say poisonous, I don't just mean like in terms of giving somebody skin cancer. I mean in terms of poisoning the mind with lies and illusions. There have been inhibitory structures built on and around our planet in terms of frequency that have made the ascension take longer and be more difficult than it actually should be, which should make your arms go up on your shoulders like this, and you should snap and you should neck. However, please do not go into these senses of it's not fair and the decrying shaking my fist at the sky and it's not fair. Yes, 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 yes. And also let's get on with it, because I found that those indulging in those feeling states didn't really help me on my journey. But it must be acknowledged that the reason why sun gazing is more difficult now than it ever was, and the reason why it's difficult to go without your glasses and just see through natural sunlight, and the way that we don't even really truly see everybody's faces, is because of things that are inhibiting the free flow of real sunlight energy to us, to our pineal glands, to our physical corneas and retinas, and through our optic nerves to the optical centers in your brain, your occipital lobe. All of that stuff has been crapped up. It's not very much fun and very nice to know about, but it's something that must be acknowledged. And that's also part of this. Wait a minute, I thought I was being born and that we were going to be in a jacuzzi. And where are the scented candles? Where are the scented candles? And instead we've got like the sun simulator and chemtrails. Because again, like even in 2012, 2013, I was not experiencing that many chemtrails and things like that in my area. Got to be really, really intense 2014, 15, and 16 when I lived in Northern California. All of that stuff really, really changed. The experience of ascension and the clarity of the pineal gland and the clarity of the connection to the true sun and the true stars, very, very challenging. Actually, it is a re-traumatization of what happened in the ancient trauma that we'll be talking about in this class next week, next Saturday. Talked about two versions of Earth overlapping. So just as I had two versions of me, the me that is just my physicality, objective material self, that's like, look, you're gonna have to wear glasses to be able to see stuff. And the version of me that is higher dimensional augmentation, but not augmented VR, but augmented with natural layers of energy, the natural higher dimensional state of self that can easily see without my glasses. That is because it is, about tuning in energy. There also exist two different versions of Earth, many multiple versions of Earth, but we'll just simplify it by saying two versions. There's the objective materialist version of Earth. The New Age slang is 3D Earth. There is the higher dimensional augmented version. New Age slang is 5D Earth, but I'm warning against everybody. Don't be in an artificial augmented reality that is based on nano-implanted wetware, which we didn't have in 2006. We barely had in 2013. We didn't have a 5G network. We didn't have Elon Musk's Starlink satellites all around us. Different landscape of energy at that time and place. And I know, like, you can get upset. Like, this is traumatizing stuff. Please try not to get upset about it. But recognize that there is a version of Earth that is the true higher dimensional state that does not require technology. What would Earth be like if you tore down all of those satellites, all of the 5G installations, cleared everybody's body of what I lovingly call nanocrapola, cleared all of the nano wetware out of everybody's neurology, fascia, eyeballs, optic nerves, nose passages, bloodstream, cleared out all technology that was anti-ascension and that was preventing like the fake light, that was preventing you from connecting to fake light, from connecting you from preventing to real light, such as fake light in the sky. Clear out the fake light, bring in the new light, basically clear out the space fence and everything that's been keeping you as a frequency prisoner in this place. Yes, if you were able to do that, that is the version of Earth that I'm talking about. A natural, organic ascension Earth, where there's a beautiful, gentle sun. That's why I wrote that music that is called Under a Gentle Sun, because I want to bring that level of reality, that world, into being. What is it like there? You won't have to lose your body to go there, first of all. Keep your body, keep your body. Mantra is stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, because where there's life, there's hope, and you can heal from what you have experienced in that body. So when you're on the perfect Earth, where there's no 5G crapola, no nano crapola, you will have perfect teeth. And there will not be such a thing as cancer. So cancer is a genetic disease, and I've talked extensively about that. How can everybody have perfect teeth? Like, what's going to happen? You have the capacity to regenerate your teeth. So if you have missing or diseased teeth, it does not mean that you will have no teeth for the rest of your life. It means you contain the potential to regenerate new teeth. And that will be a major intellectual triumph for many people to see and know that they are doing this. Proves that you're magic to you. It proves your miraculous nature to yourself. People will regenerate that and more. Just please know that that is a truthfulness from that level of reality. Even if the gatekeeper of your intellect in this moment might have difficulty accepting that and go into skepticism or even rejecting of me. Who does Aurora think she is to tell me like that my appendix is going to regenerate, or that my this or my that will come back? That all of these things are possible. And regeneration also of beautiful aspects of our ecosystem in the world. Yeah, Martine, thank you for being here. Very good student who says, I sometimes don't even feel like going outside because of this ugly sunlight. It looks more like a giant LED light. Dun, dun, dun. It is. That's exactly right. I know. And it's actually painful to know that that's up there instead of the real sun. You've got the real sun that's over here. Then you've got a bigger, closer, louder, grosser LED light that's in front of the sun. And then many, many types of lenses and arrays that smear, distort, and block out your true vision of extrasolar bodies that are up there. And then also nanocrapola that's in the actual eye juice, your aqueous and vitreous fluids that are in your body, your optic nerve, and your ocular passages. It's all very distressing. I've already shown you this painting called The Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. I've already described to you about that. I want to tell you this for my notes. All of this is predicated upon solar partnership. That's why the sun has been attacked so much. Our food supply has been attacked, and our sun food, our light food, has been attacked. Solar partnership, divine lovemaking. Here's how it goes. Planetary consciousness plus solar consciousness equals new reality is born. All right? So think about it in that way. The sun and the consciousness of the sun plus the earth and the consciousness of the earth equals the birth of a new reality. That's what that painting is all about. We'll go back to the painting briefly. I'm trying to move fast to get through all of this. This is it. Birth of the flying rainbow lasagna. Birth of a new reality. And the reality is an outer expression of the inner truth of your dreams and your emotions and all that you are on an inner state. When you do this, you redefine the individual organisms being a bridge between the planet and the sun star. Individual organisms, that's humans, dolphins, trees, microbes, butterflies, cats, dogs, everything that is alive, biological matter here, as a bridge between the earth and the sun stars, entire stellar network. When you do this, you redefine what it is to be human. You become superhuman. You become a full spectrum human. When you become this beautiful bridge with your feet on earth and your head on connecting to the sun and the stars, you become this rainbow bridge of superhuman capacity, connecting together these formerly divergent realms. That is what flying rainbow lasagna is and what it does, connects together formerly divergent realms. This is an ongoing journey, and we are on the eternal timeline in terms of being individual cells on the planet and in terms of being the planet, like embodying the planet, thinking of the planet as a larger macroscopic version of who and what you are. Celebrate. First of all, woohoo! Celebrate. This was written 10 years ago, 20 years after this, but continue to celebrate. Celebrate because you made it 10 years into the ascension process in 2012, 2013. Don't have your shoulders go down because it took longer than you thought, and then celebrate that you've made it another 10 years. Woo-hoo, you made it. It's been very, very challenging, and you made it. You're still here, you're still alive. Nuclear bombs did not destroy Hawaii. There was not a tidal wave. There was not firestorms of lava. You're still here. You're still here, and you didn't die on the highway, and you didn't get cancer, and you didn't, die of bug bites, and you didn't die of an alligator eating your face. You didn't die of any of these things. You stayed alive. Good for you. Good for all of us. Flying rainbow lasagna. Okay, let me say this. You made it. Celebrate because you made it onto one of the timelines where Earth continues to exist, and you, as an individual, are evolving towards higher consciousness. You're still alive and you're still evolving towards higher consciousness. It is not something that happens according to time on your watch or on the calendar and your expectations of that. It is ongoing. It is an unfoldment. Allow the unfoldment and celebrate that you've made it this far. With flying rainbow lasagna, you are learning to sculpt your reality, forming a divine partnership with the sun and the abstract consciousness coming through the sun. That's light consciousness. Your thoughts and your visualizations are adding to the conceptual network of reality that you are going to be experiencing. That's that sun gazing experience where you're taking everything that you are inside and your hopes and desires and dreams and collaborating with the sun, coming together creating a new explosion, but not explosion violent, expansion, proliferation of possibilities and idea structures that you then inhabit, and then give more feedback to the sun. Hey, remember when we jammed on this yesterday? Well, here's what I experienced. Let me send it back to you. And the sun is like, oh, that's interesting that that's what you experienced. Let's jam again. And then let's make a new reality structure that's called tomorrow. And then you get to experience it. Then let's jam again and make the next reality structure. That is the next day, the day after tomorrow. Okay. At the singularity, which was December 21st, 2012, such a clear overlapping of the two realities that I, back then, did not wear corrective lenses for about a week, and I could see and function very well. So I remember what December 21st, 2012 was feeling like to me. I definitely felt the ramping up. Like when you're about to sneeze, you're like, achoo. Like I was waiting for the achoo. And I also really thought the achoo would propel me and everyone else much, much further. And when I was in my studio on that day, what I really felt was that there was a portal or a doorway that was halfway open, or that we were able to go through it halfway. Literally, that was what I saw in my inner vision, but not all the way. And I'm telling you, my shoulders were kind of going down. But what I literally did, and I share this as a powerful story with you from my life, I went to Mount Overlook, which is in Woodstock, which is a powerful, like a generator, an energy generating magical portal mountain that is right near where I lived. And I walked up there as in pilgrimage, and I planted my thought seed, which is the seed of teaching formally this class that is now called Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. I made my decision, or got my inner directive, and collaborated with the sun on that day. That was, over 10 years ago at this point. At that point, guys, I didn't know how to work computers or do whiteboards or do YouTube uploads or do any of the technological editing or things like that that are involved. And more to the point, I did not have my curriculum set in or arranged in a way that was a linear way that made sense. I just made paintings all about like this. Here it is, everything all at once. And I had to figure out how to say, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to call myself Professor Aurora. I'm going to figure out how to put these concepts into manageable bites and in a linear fashion that makes sense to other people. And I started from that decision moment then, was branching on a timeline or paving the sidewalk as I went forward on that timeline, the experience of sharing my work formally through teaching with other people. And I started out with just very short kind of 10-minute lessons, and then eventually developed it into the whiteboards that I share with you guys on Teachable as the homework for these live lectures. And that came out of that decision-making point at that day. And I do not regret having 10 years to be able to do this with you. I celebrate it. I love teaching you guys. I love being able to speak and articulate these very complex concepts and say, here's what the time vortex is. And then I had to figure out how to describe the time vortex to everyone. You get it? I had to figure out analogies in different ways to be able to speak about the membrane of death, to be able to speak about what is ascension, where are we going towards, what are we doing? We only went part of the way through that portal in that time in terms of changing consciousness from a very physical, objective, materialist, manifested reality into a non-physical, energetic, fluid ascension reality. And you know something, instead of being sad with shoulders down, we're like, okay, what can we do with this time? Let's learn more. Let's learn more. Let's refine the capacity more. And we've had this opportunity of 10 years, like 10 years of working out at the gym. And so then we get to what am I doing now? What have I been experiencing now more recently? So definitely within this past, so I went through a huge amount of turmoil last year in terms of consciousness suppressors, just as they're the creators of the anti-ascension hardware in this world. They're looking at Flying Rainbow Lasagna over here, and they're like, you're part of Flying Rainbow Lasagna ascension on this planet. We not only want to shut down your food supply, we not only want to shut down your sun food supply, we want to shut down lasagna. And I'm laughing. It's not funny at all. All of this was, again, a targeting of me and my Flying Rainbow Lasagna activities as, what do I do? Jump out and get groceries. Go out to the store. I go out to the consciousness store and get patterns and thought forms, and then jump back into this reality and share them with all of you guys. And they're like, we got to shut down that lasagna. That's making a lot of trouble for us. And that was what last year was about for me, being very, very heavily attacked and targeted, and attempts to suppress me, not only in my genetic dance, but also in my sense of self, in my definition of my identity, in my physical voice, and also my artistic voice, and also my cognitive abilities, my ability to express myself, and definitely in my class. So it's been a lot. It's been a big journey coming back to be able to make my art and music again, get back into teaching and sharing these ideas and sharing them from a new expanded perspective. But it will be valuable when we talk about things next week about technology, AI, and all the things that I've perceived. All of that in order to say that what I did this past year, as we've been ramping up to these higher heights, is a lot of bodybuilding, a lot of, like I would say, muscle building and strengthening from times when I was very depleted from being attacked a lot. So I've been doing a lot with, again, intensive nutrition, lots of wonderful, good types of strength training exercises, lots of flying rainbow lasagna dancing, because the dance itself is regenerative. So if you're in my dance class, thank you, and I love you. And when I'm in my dance class, and you might see me and I'm like holding a particular form of my body, but all of my muscles are engaged. And what I'm really feeling like is I feel a golden light that is subcutaneous in the tendons of my body, in the bones of my body, that is flowing through me in those moments while I'm vibrating at an extremely fast genetic rate, in and out, in and out, in and out, touching with the stars, getting all of that sun starlight directly into me. And then, of course, exemplifying that and teaching others how to do that. That is the regenerative moment, like getting all of that light, bringing in all of those groceries. And I've been doing a lot of that. And then, yes, also it has increased my massiveness, because now I can hold more energy. And then the more energy that you hold, and the more energy that you can hold. So it's all very exciting. And also I've found very wonderful healings and regenerations that have been happening for me over the past year in terms of like my spine and my capacity to have spinal flexibility and being able to do things and do yoga postures, and even regular posture has improved a lot. So my spinal mobility has increased and improved from being able to do this. So I will just say continually to everyone, continue to hold forth the capacity and the imagination for profound levels of healing and regeneration and restructuring of your physical body, literally to be able to redefine what it is to be embodied, in order to say, like, I'm so celebratory of having a physical form. I'm so celebratory of being able to do more of this and do this more strongly and do this more effectively. And that only keeps on accelerating too. As your frame rate and your flicker rate goes faster and faster and faster, you become more, you become better, you become superhuman, you become a rainbow bridge between Earth and the sun. You become a combination of spirit and matter, smatter. And your body becomes something that responds directly to thought. And then you can think about these regenerative possibilities and embody them fully. Let me get through the rest of my notes, and then I'll get to the rest of the questions or comments. And I oscillated back after the experience around December 21st, 2012. I was like, wow, I don't need my glasses anymore. This is great. And then guess what? Oscillated back. But my shoulders did not go down. But I really was like, okay, like I'm going to need to do a bunch of stuff that are going to require sharp eyesight. Let me use my glasses, and I've used them for the past 10 years, but I always know, and I keep in mind, I won't always have to do that. Things are going to change. So just know that that's truthful. All right. So let's say for me, my glasses are a really good example, because like I can see, you can sometimes like either something is sharp or you can't see SHIT. Like I can't see, or I can see. It's very easy. It's very clear inside of me. But your own personal journey might be different. For example, allergies. Please know that when you're in your higher dimensional version of your body, your thought form body that is made of matter, you will still eat food and you will still have a sense of like your face and your arms and your legs, but you will not have allergies anymore. Or let me say, whatever, many other chronic diseases, things like diabetes, things that are metabolic diseases. At this moment, don't throw away your inhaler. At this moment, don't throw away your insulin. You got it? Like I use my contact lenses to survive. You use your insulin to survive. Please do what you need to do in this materialistic level of reality to continue onwards and to survive, while knowing that at a certain point, you will become a butterfly. You will emerge from the reality cocoon. You will go into a different higher dimensional self state that is not defined by the limitations of the past and the world that you came out of. And you will no longer require those external accoutrements or medicines to be able to be healthy and alive and to be sustained. This also will reflect in terms of human ecology, economy, sociology, and industry. Everything's going to change out there too. Because if you're no longer buying insulin and no longer requiring asthma inhalers, then believe me, pharmacies and pharmaceutical companies and everything, healthcare, health insurance, all of these things change. Everything changes. Your inside and your outside, everything really changes. So this is something to keep in mind as an ideal. Please keep in mind visualize and maintain your attention on the ideal of the reality structure that you're moving into, all right? Ascension is not death, but it is an exiting of this reality. Instead of your body ending up dead on the floor, your body raises its vibration so much that it becomes pure energy. You do not leave behind a body. And I was talking about this with someone recently, and they were, it was Alan. He was talking about the rainbow body after I showed him flying rainbow lasagna, like the dance. And he was talking about some different masters of the Far East. I think Milarepa might be one of them. But anyway, brief anecdote. So this is when I lived in Woodstock, and there's a Tibetan monastery there that I went there at their invitation for an experience in their large shrine room, which was very wonderful to be able to go there and be a part of that. During the lunch break, I went into the bookshop of their monastery, and I had a certain amount of time, waiting until the next event, for lack of a better word, part of the ceremony would begin. And a book literally was on the shelf. I wouldn't say it jumped off the shelf. My eye was so drawn to it. It was called Painting the Rainbow Body, or Rainbow Body Painting. And I think that's so funny because we have Rainbow Body as one of the people who's named here. Such an amazing book, which basically I read in the length of time that the lunch hour was. So it's a short book, fast reading, anecdotes of people who have attained their rainbow body. And this comes again from stories mostly from Asia. I'm in the United States, so I call it the Far East, but you might be in a different part of the world. So it just might be the East or Asia for you, from that part of the world. Some of them are ancient stories of masters that achieved this, and some of them are more recent stories from people from post-world, the 20th century or post-World War II. No actual film or video of the person in the moment of transforming into the rainbow body, but just interesting things. Like here's one story. So it comes from the time in Asia when there were wandering monks and nuns as a normal part of their society, and that they would often be mendicants or professional beggars, for lack of a better word, who rely upon the donations of their supporters to be able to perform their spiritual activities. It was normal in that world, if you saw a nun or a monk coming onto your property, to be like, do you need a place to stay? Do you need food? Can I help you on your path? And you would help them for a certain amount of time, and then they would go on their path. So this nun that came to a particular farmer's property was invited in, said, no, I do not require any food from you, but I would like a safe place to be for about a week. And so it was shown to a small outbuilding. And the nun was like, I don't need anything from you. Just give me this quiet space so I can do my meditations and don't disturb me. And so the farmer had no problem with that at all. So the nun was in there doing her quiet meditations. And then he, of course, thought that she would be hungry. He didn't see her get out for a couple of days. He's like, she's got to be hungry at this point. Puts together some food, knocks on the door. Nobody answers, opens up the door. He's going to leave the food, but instead sees this person that's just like, the shroud of the clothing with rainbows shooting out through the sleeves, and where there should be a head and where there should be feet. And the farmer just kind of backs away slowly, closes the door, goes away, comes back in another couple of days, finds there's nobody there, but there is hair and fingernails. That's all that was left behind. So Rainbow Body is an interesting book that you can look into. It brings up a couple of different levels of transformation into the rainbow body. Some of the examples leave behind nothing. No relics were left behind. Some left behind, like that one, some inedible portion of the person, their hair and their fingernails. Sometimes a skull fragment might be left behind. Sometimes, a very small shrunken body might be left behind, almost as if all the vitality has been left from the corpse. And then there's just a small, kind of shrunken charcoal, kind of dried up type of thing. And then sometimes a regular sized body that somehow does not decay. These are the things, somehow it doesn't have a putrescence to it, and that the relics that are left behind somehow have healing or regenerative powers to them. Like the skull plate, they would carve away at the skull plate, and then it would be healed the next morning. Like, how can I take a chip off of this thing and then come back the next morning and find that there's no chip missing from it? So physical relics were sometimes left behind that seem to have supernatural qualities. Interesting book to look into. All of it is meant to be mind food, or ways of sprinkling positive seeds and spores into your mind about the possibilities of what it is not to die a physical death, to do a state change like water as a liquid into steam as a gas, changing you from a physicality body into a non-physicality body. We're in that interim moment of being smatter, spirit matter. Spirit matter, a little bit of energy and a little bit of matter makes the flying rainbow lasagna. Or what happens when you take E equals MC squared and you put the equation with both things on the same side of the equation. Wait, Aurora, that would make this side go all the way down to infinity. So what do we need to balance that out? Infinity. Infinity. E equals MC squared. E plus MC squared equals infinity. That's this flying rainbow lasagna. E plus MC squared equals infinity. This is infinity. This is what happens when you put together all matter and all energy into one thing that is not oscillating back and forth. It is infinity. Okay. You take your body with you, but it is pure energy. This is the ascension process. You take your body with you in the form of pure energy. You do not take your body of mass with you because you are not entering a world of mass. Big. You are entering into a higher dimension. That would be fifth dimension plus waveforms, waveform only, no smoothie shops. So you need a body built out of the stuff that the world is made of, which is dun, 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 time. Go into a world of pure time. You exit a world of mass and you enter a world of pure time. Everyone in this class is super smart. Class, what are your chakras made out of? You don't have to formally raise your hand. Made out of time. Time and timelines and possibilities and probabilities. I'll grab my little delicate sculpture here. Whirling energy fields made out of time. You exit the physical reality, you exit a world of mass, and you enter into a waveform world that is built entirely out of time. The chakras on our body are comprised of timelines, and our thoughts, the emanations from the sun that we eat, it is all time. You enter into a layer of experience where you are experiencing time directly in your body that is made out of time. So that is what the ascension process is like. We are still in that process. It is an amazing adventure. I am so gratified. I feel a lot of love in my heart right now for everyone with you. I deeply love you. I profoundly love you. I thank you for being with me on the journey. I thank people who are long-term students of this class and who are friends, who are all student friends, and also people who are totally new and who are just tuning in. And I think that it is amazing. We've been through an amazing amount of experience, and that it continues to go. It's ongoing, and it is also, it's something that will not be regretted. You will not regret the past 10 years at all. Remember my words. You will not regret any of your journey or any of the time spent in this development process. Okay. Melissa says, and Melissa, thank you for being a long-term student, says, takes real warriors of joy equals us to, in spite of the fake information and light out there, we will do what we do anyway and do it very well. Thank you so much. It's beautifully well said. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate your coherence, sticking with it, attitude, all that you are. I appreciate you very much. I want to open the floor. Anybody who wishes to say anything or share anything or has any particular questions, now is the perfect time. And also, if you want to share something, but not for YouTube or the entirety of anything in a public space, you can do that after I finish the recording. So for anything that you want to share with other people that will be catching this in the class. And yeah, because also people might have questions, I like to answer them while things are still going in the recording. That way it benefits the most people. A lot of people ask me about my diet or my exercise or what I do, but I do all sorts of, when I talk about strength training exercises, I do all sorts of things beyond my lasagna dance. So I do that as a regenerative dance. And then I also do things that have to do with resistance bands or isometrics and body weight exercises. I do all sorts of different things. And I love doing it. I love doing it. I love exploring my body, and I love feeling how things grow and change and transform as I'm more able now than I was 10 years ago or than I was 20 years ago. And that is really, really good. Like overcome neurological difficulties and musculoskeletal difficulties. So the glory and recognition to God at divine capacities for healing and regeneration, and my own willpower and my own belief and my own intention and doing the actual activities. So I hold that forth as a template for positive self-transformation for anybody. And I always tell everybody with the dance, where you are in your fitness or in your health abilities is a perfect place to start. You don't have to be like, well, wait, first I will do all of this, then I will finally do the flying rainbow lasagna dance. Like, because running a marathon, like first, I've never run a marathon, but first you have to do this, then you have to lift these weights, then you have to build these muscles, then you're ready to run a marathon. Wait, then run a 5K, then run a 10K, then run a marathon. With lasagna, just start with the lasagna. And then know that the more that you do that, the more you will be able to do it, and the more you will be able to do conventional exercises too. So wherever you are in your fitness, you are enough. You are enough to lasagna. You are good enough. You are certainly worthy, and your capacities will only grow and increase from the moment that you start. Rainbow Body would tell me all about it. I would say off camera, maybe, or in a phone call. All right, but I'm definitely interested in hearing about it. Angela says, do you recommend chlorophyll tablets? I used to chew them before bed. And she's in New York now, thinking ahead of the winter months. I know what it was like, because even when I lived in upstate New York, I would be like, wow, the summertime is so beautiful, and the fireflies are out, and it's so wonderful, and the days are so long. But inside of my mind, I would always be like, yeah, but then soon it's going to be October, and then soon it's going to be November, and then soon it's going to be December. There's going to be no sunlight. No. Like feeling like down. So yeah, it was a big challenge for me psychologically to be always negatively expecting the doldrums of the winter. Challenge, I would say, if you're financially capable, it's good to be able to travel. You know what I mean? Like to take a break and go someplace sunny in the middle of the winter time, to be able to get sunlight and stay sane. One of the other things I would do in wintertime living in upstate New York, I did have one of those SAD lights, like, you know, a SAD, seasonal affective disorder light, that I would use to kind of fool my eyes to think that there was sunlight. And I also would go to a hot sauna at the gym almost every day. And sometimes I would bring like some mango juice or something and be like, I'm in a tropical island, I'm drinking my mango juice, and it's very, very hot. But like, this is, Hans is a lovely student here. He lives near the Arctic Circle in Sweden. That culture knows, like, in the wintertime, you do sauna, and you do that in order to open up your pores and detoxify your body, and also to get kind of cooked to the inside, because otherwise the muscles and the organs and everything of your body just feel consistently cold. So it really, really, really does help a lot. So those are my coping mechanisms. And you can do a lot of stuff with infrared sauna at home, sauna blankets, or sauna kind of like sleeping bag beds that you get inside of, and other things that are affordable, that make this stuff affordable. So find ways to be able to do it. And then I also knew some people, like, if their house was set up with big windows, if you get sunlight and it's wintertime outside, get in the sunlight in the windows, even if you like whatever, like roll up your sleeves and roll up your pants and pull up your shirt and get that on you. And then I used to have a studio that was in Woodstock that had windows all around, that I would put plastic wrap up, like to insulate it, that shrink wrap plastic wrap. And then I had a really great a heater, like a little space heater, and also a humidifier that I would use to make the space really warm and really humid, like really, like, you know, Floridian. And then I would sit in there and I would paint my paintings and be kind of like, you know, happy and good, even if it was snowing outside and you know, the snow was sprinkling down. I felt like I was warm and toasty inside, and people would come and visit me in my studio for that reason. So you can make your own mini environment, is what I'm trying to say, to be able to feel better in a colder climate of where you are. So the other question that you wanted to know is about chlorophyll. I highly recommend some form of either chlorophyll tablet or liquid tincture, Or what I really like is both chlorella and spirulina. And you have to figure out what works best for your own tummy, because some people I know, when I recommend chlorella, they're like, oh, it gave me so much digestive upset, I couldn't even eat it. I think it's great stuff, and I eat it all the time, and it's in one of my superfood smoothie blends that I put in my decaf coffee in the morning. So I put like my collagen supplement superfood smoothie, and that has a blend of barley grass, dehydrated wheatgrass, spirulina, chlorella, like all of these. It's called Amazing Greens. I like it a lot. Again, like I'm not trying to get you guys to buy specific stuff, but I like that stuff a lot, and I use it, and I notice a really good positive improvement in my body, because I feel like I can get more greens than if I were eating a giant salad bowl this big every day. So yes, I absolutely recommend figuring out what works for your body. If you get chlorella, choose a brand that is called Broken Cell Chlorella. It is best to find ones that are mechanically broken as opposed to chemically broken. And also try to find ones that are purity tested, so that they do not themselves have heavy metals in them, because they sequester heavy metals out of the body. But if they are grown in bodies of water that have heavy metals, then you are ingesting heavy metals in the chlorella, which you then want to take heavy metals out of your body. So basically do a little bit of research, find a brand that you like. I like one, it's a bit expensive, called Sun Chlorella. But that, again, is like, for the pocketbook, a challenge sometimes. And I don't want to sound so privileged to be able to say like, oh yes, just buy this thing. You don't have to take it every day. You can do a course. Like you can, if you get that, it lasts like 6 weeks or so. Take that, you take a couple of tablets every day, and then it helps to clear out your body, and also to feed and nourish your body. And also, my dog loves it. Feed it to your pets. I don't know about cats, because I never really tried with cat, but my dog, I used to give like little crushed up pieces of the chlorella tablet to her, and she'd be like, yeah, this is good, I like this. And I haven't even mentioned mushrooms. Mushrooms are amazing, but they are not necessarily in terms of detoxing the body, but in terms of nourishing the body. So yeah, I do a lot with mushrooms, and there's a mushroom blend that I also put in my superfood smoothie in the morning. That's like cordyceps, reishi, lion's mane, this and that. And I don't do it every day, but I do it now and then, which I think is also hugely positive and important. So yeah, find a form of chlorophyll that works for your body. And so spirulina is different. You don't have to worry about broken cell or open cell or anything like that. There's different tablets or powders and whatever. And that, again, like, it's not a bad taste. It tastes very good. You can mix it in with coconut milk or a smoothie or whatever you like, or sprinkle it into yogurt or put it onto something. Hans, and thank you so much for being here and being a long-term student, says, I have 2 wood saunas. One is outside the house and one is on a raft on a clear lake. That sounds amazing. And that is so healing. That is how you do wintertime. And that is also how you get light into your light body. Because when you have a wood sauna, essentially what you have is trees have done the miracle of photosynthesis and taken sunlight and turned it into cellulose, which is wood. Then humans take that wood and put it into a little building and make a fire and burn with that wood and turn that solidified light back into heat that then goes into your bones and into your organs. And you kind of like roast in front of the fire and get it all inside of you. It's incredibly healing. And that is just in the sense of the biological body. And then there's the Inipi Lodge, which I participated in for a long time, but not here in California. But that's the sense of a Native American style sweat lodge, where hot rocks are brought inside. The rocks heated up, river rocks heated up in a fire, again, sunlight into stone, and then the stone into the center of the lodge. And the lodge is covered up and sealed up tight, and the water is poured on, and it releases tons of steam. And it is, again, a way that is not only about recharging the body and feeling warm inside, it is also about detoxification of the physical presence and release of emotional traumas, processing emotions. People definitely have big purges and big releases and big healings and uplifts for doing that. And I highly recommend that practice, both the physical, biological practice and the spiritual practice of it. Oh, and Melissa is reminding us about cilantro. Thank you for this. She says cilantro is used best in conjunction with chlorella, which is a kind of green algae, and together they act as a perfect tool for body detox. You got it. She says, use cilantro first to grab toxins and chlorella later to help emit the toxins. I'm hugging you through the screen. Thank you, because I forgot to mention that cilantro is in my diet. It's a regular part of my diet. Cheap, easy to find, like highly available here. And what you do is you take a bunch of it, put it in a glass of water and stick it in your refrigerator, and it will last for many, many days. And then a handful of cilantro every day. And you can put it, some people hate the taste. It's because you have different taste receptors on your tongues. So you might not like this, but it's really, really good. Everything that Melissa says is true. Eat cilantro like on your morning eggs or in a salad or something like that. And then later in the day, you eat the chlorella, and that the two of them work together in your body, one to liberate the heavy metals and one to sequester the heavy metals, poop it out, get the heavy metals out of you. This is all really, really, really important stuff. Why? What's up with the heavy metals? I'm not talking about heavy metal music. I'm talking about the crapola that gets sprayed in the sky. That is all non-naturally occurring heavy metals that is in the food, air, and water, that we have to be spiritual badasses and continually be taking that stuff out of our bodies so that we are not being adversely affected by it. And I don't think I spoke enough about my structured water. I know I still have green juice residue around here, but structured water, and ascension. That was a big thing for me as we've been going into this ascension kind of gear up over the past couple of years. What is structured water? Structured water is first the learning and comprehension that water is a liquid crystal, and it takes on an imprint, both intellectual and emotional, of the things that, and shape-wise, polygonal, shape-wise, of what it is exposed to. The work of Dr. Emoto, putting a word on your water that says either love or hate, and then watching the different forms of the water crystals, that basically you structure water with intention. What you're thinking and feeling and saying when you're pouring out and drinking your water goes into your water. So structuring water is, first of all, the teaching and learning that it takes an imprint, and then different practices of how to cultivate your water. I don't cook my water every day, but I prepare my water every day. Oh, and so many deep thanks to the contributor who helped me to get my new Berkey filter. So yes, I just got that like maybe a week and a half ago, and I noticed such a huge, profound, positive difference. So yes, I advocate for a filter that removes chlorine and fluoride and all sorts of other nasty crapola from your tap water, especially if you're in an urban place where you have water that is like possibly a regenerated water that's not coming from a lake or a stream or something like that. And we don't like fluoride at all. Fluoride is not good for your pineal gland. So first you filter the water, and then, pardon me, where I store the water, I put different mineralizers in it, things like shungite and magnesium pearls and other things. And you can get these on the Dancing with Water website. And then I have a bubbler that's like a little carafe, where the water trickles through like the way it would trickle down through a stream over various crystals. It makes the water giggle. It goes, ha, 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 ha. You're putting that into the water. Then I have these beautiful carafes. One is egg-shaped and is opaque. One is shaped kind of like the Fibonacci sequence, and also has like some beautiful engravings on the bottom. And then I also have a charging plate that's like an orgone plate with this printed on it. All of those things, I put them in the water, goes through these different stages, and you let it sit. And I also use those crystalline water droplets, and all of those things structure my water. I think positive thoughts and affirmations and healing thoughts into the water as I am creating it in this form. Just like when I'm making my bread, I put positive love into my bread, I put love into my water. And then, I drink my water usually out of like a beautiful crystalline chalice or something like that. Make it ceremonial. That water is special water. And yes, feed that water to your pets too. And yes, I avoid the regular water and the regular ice cubes. If I ever eat someplace that is not my own home, I bring my own little jug of water, not to be crass, but just because I really don't want to drink the city water and the stuff that's in there, and it's not filled with positive intentions the way that mine is. But let's say that you're out and you don't have your own water, and the only option is water from a water fountain or water from, whatever restaurant or something like that. What do you do, guys? What do you do? Do you say, no, thanks, I'll just die of thirst? No, of course not. You are in gratitude. You say, I thank God. I thank God for this beautiful water. Someone comes along and gives you something to drink, or there's a water fountain or whatever, and you need it. Bless the water. It changes the structure immediately. Do you get it? We're getting into these levels of consciousness, where you're recognizing that how you look at something alchemically changes that thing. Like if I look at this beautiful almond pastry then I'm like, this is the most amazing, wonderful thing in the world for me to eat. It's filled with beautiful light. A lot of the light that we eat comes from our perception. And then if you look at it and you curse a person's food, if you're like, that food is bad for you, it has this, this, and this, and this, and this in it, you will die if you eat that food. Cursing their food, you're taking the energy away from it. Don't curse other people's foods. Leave them to their food choices. Bless and be in gratitude for your own food. That is how you make the light of food available to yourself and into your body. And then also don't be too down about the sun simulator. But I will admit, I agree with all of you. What's in the sky right now is like a white hot LED light, not something that is really nice to bask in. I live someplace where it's very sunny. Put sunblock on myself every day. No, I don't use nano titanium dioxide. Stay away from that. It is not good. But you find a good natural sunblock, put yourself on every day. And I wear a hat every day when I go out walking my dog. But I still do my sun gazing. And I do my sun gazing as a oscillation like this, back and forth between me and the sun, so that way I can jump past bullshit and then get to the true sun. Got it? So it is possible, even though I'm not a fan of the harsh, unnatural light. Rainbow also says it's too close, way too big. Yeah, absolutely. People who are awake in this time and place recognize that there is something that is extremely unnatural about the light source that is in the sky and its qualities, its motion relative to our planet or where we are, and also the effect and impact on human consciousness and human biology. And anybody who is younger than 20 or 16 years old, you might not even know what a real sun looks like. And the day will come when the sun simulator will turn off and you will have access to real sunlight again. You will live under a gentle sun. Remember this, remember me telling you this in this video. You will do that and you will remember or know for the first time what real sunlight is and what God's real love feels like. And that will be an amazing time. Melissa says, yay, yay, that's right. And Rainbow Body also just makes everything look flat and wan. Very, very truthful. You know, guys, women have to know this, men have to know this too. Lighting is everything. And I joke about this. Lighting is everything. Like over where your bathroom sink is, like have good incandescent lights, because if you have like these horrible fluorescent lights, then every time you're brushing your teeth and you're looking at yourself, like you will look like a zombie. Fluorescent lights make people look like they're dead, like you look like the Walking Dead. Same thing with if you're trying on swimsuits. This is what I joke about, like, you know, ladies or whatever. I don't know if men have these body issues, but if you ever try on swimsuits and it's in the dressing room of some, you know, place and there's fluorescent lighting and you try it and you're looking at your body and you're like, I look terrible, because like you can see like all the veins of your body. You look very like, you know, it's not flattering lighting at all. The most flattering lighting is incandescent. It's hard to even find incandescent bulbs right now, or candlelight or campfire light, because we don't even have real sunlight in the sky anymore. Very, very, very troubling, difficult time. So yeah, the light that comes from the sky right now, I find that it does not even accurately portray people's true beauty. I see that it makes people's faces look very haggard, very wrinkly, very unflattering skin textures and tones. That's not what real sunlight looks like. Real sunlight is so beautiful and brings out the soul beauty in a person. And that is unfortunately not what we've been seeing right now. And then also that what is in the sky right now prematurely ages people, but it also prematurely ages them by showing them a picture of themselves looking older than they truly are. And then they believe themselves into that older age. So tell yourselves mentally, when you're looking at something that is lit from this artificial light source in the sky, you're like, I'm not even seeing the true sun. I'm not even seeing the true nature of what things are. If you look at your skin, if you look at somebody else's face, not even seeing their true face. And that is a big part of my music. That song that I wrote, that's called Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. I say, may all true faces be revealed. And that is an intentional amount of words. That is an intentional, don't want to say incantation, but statement. That is an intentional statement of the world that I wish to bring into being. That we have the true sun and that everybody sees the true faces of the organisms and entities that are around them. And it will be revelatory definitely. I think that's probably a good thing to end upon. So may all true faces be revealed, and profound thanks for everybody who watches my videos, and prepare, get going with your Gatorade and your isometric exercises. Be prepared for the mega marathon that's going to happen next Saturday. Yes, I will post it here to YouTube. Yes, I want people to be able to have access to this information, to be part of the live lecture. Please contact me, and scholarships are always available. Thank you, thank you, thank you.